Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Huh? It's a house!
You know, that's just one step above stupid. Did you hear what I said? You know, that's just one step above stupid.
Huh?
There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp.
Huh?
I'm filming the dog's poop area. Will they poop on the pad in the corner? Yeah. That's all it's filming is over there. I gotta catch him. I still don't know which one is having the poop problem. Okay. Like there's somebody that's pooping and it's not quite solid stuff, so we're still trying to figure out which one it is. You know? And I just never seem to be able to catch it. So we're going to try to figure that out. But anyways, tonight we've got the all the different impact statements out there. Kelsey sent me hers, and then I have Becky, Mike, and Becky's. Let's see, what would it be? I guess it's like the first cousin of Libby. It's Libby's dad's sister's kid. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. That's what that is, right? Libby's dad. Like, it was my dad's. Yeah, I think. Or is that an uncle? Yeah. That's kind of confusing to me. I don't know why. An uncle would be. Right, so it's like an uncle's kid is a first cousin. Right. So there you go. There you go. That's the first cousin. Yeah, so that's a guy, somebody named Joshua. And then we have Mike, Becky, and Kelsey. I don't know if many people had Kelsey's. I made a video and put that out earlier this evening, but nobody watched it. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's going on YouTube. I don't know what's going on. It's just, you know, I put a video out and there's like 10 people watching, you know. I know I'm not, I know I'm an ass, all right, but that has nothing to do with it. Okay, there's something going on with YouTube. Like Zozo actually showed me how when I was doing my video, doing the premiere, she went over to my channel under videos and it wasn't even there. It didn't show up. On mine, it shows up as the first video because it's, you know, it's right there. But on hers, it didn't even show up on there. So I'm just wondering if that's sort of a prevalent situation for me. Right, and I put out a video of the press conference where I boosted up the audio of all the questions. You can actually hear Lauren ask questions. Unfortunately, you can hear Greeno ask a question, and there's other people in there, you know, asking questions. And it's pretty interesting. That was also just interesting. What I thought was kind of pleasing is it shows that like what we were doing on my channel all this time was so accurate. I mean, when you listen to McClelland and you listen to Carter, we were saying the exact same things over here for at least the last 2 years, and then the whole flow of the crime has been what we've been saying since February of 2017. All right, the flow of the crime never changed. Isn't that amazing? That one element that I put together. See, that's what was so cool. That's why like Robert Ives contacted me and said, wow, you know, we could maybe use something like that if we make an arrest. Turns out they should have made an arrest. That one clue that Richard Allen got a hold of the tip line should have been, that the case would have been solved in 2 weeks maximum back then. Right. Well, Lauren said she could share the Kelsey video, the thing on her. I don't know if she'll do it on her community post or something like that, but that'd be a pretty good help. You know, it's amazing. I just get really frustrated putting these videos out, and it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, but she's going to come by here in about 12 minutes and let us know how it went in there today. Okay, I'm turning on echo cancellation. I think that works better on the phone calls or the people who join in. I had the same issue with your channel on YouTube. There are many nights I search your channel and don't see any live happening. All right. And by the way, if you guys could help support the channel tonight, see if we can make up for yesterday in some way, that'd be great. But yeah, Richard Allen, he got 130 years in prison, 65 years maximum for both, and then consecutively, not concurrent. So, you know, he's going to be pretty damn old when he gets out of there. I think he'll be something like 185 years old. Now, you know, he could get lucky and maybe there'll be some new drugs that come out and preserve people's lives a lot longer, but I doubt they'd ever waste the drug on somebody like that. Hey, let's let a killer live longer. So, well, actually, there are those crazy people out there that would probably love to, you know, give him that chance. So they'll probably raise funds and get that medication for him. And about 100 years from now, you'll see some of these crazy conspiratorial YouTubers sitting there just waiting and hoping that Richard Allen somehow comes out at the grand age of 183 or whatever the hell he is. Yeah, there's still people that say he's innocent. I mean, they're just absolutely, it's mind-boggling. And when listening to the press conference today, I don't know if everybody saw it. Did everybody see the press conference? I made a video of it. I mean, I guess it's something we could sort of scroll around, maybe listen to Carter and the questions. You know, that part would be interesting. It's always interesting listening to Doug Carter because Doug Carter is the one who said, we've probably interviewed you. Well, you're right. Mm-hmm. Right. I have to go back and watch. I'm not getting notifications. These people want psychos turned loose, should have to live next door to them. Well, I always say that about the judges. You know, when the judges let people out, like sex offenders, they let them out of prison. Maybe they should live in the judge's house for a month. And it'll be amazing how those judges change their mind and how quickly they release people. You know, it's like, hey, it's not going to affect me, so I'm going to let them out. We'll just let them kill somebody else. Don't worry about it. Yeah, well, how about we let them stay in your house for a month? You know, or maybe they babysit your children for the next month because you said that they're fine, right, Judge? So why don't we make that part of it where you have to live with them? I think that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Hey, thanks so much, Alley Cake. I appreciate the support there. Yeah, it is sick. I have to go back and watch. I'm not getting notifications. I mean, I can show you guys. We can go over part of the press conference later if you want. I think I have it. Is that it? No, right? Yeah, I have it right here. So at the end, I spent a lot of time going through and finding where all the questions were, and made them 25 decibels higher, and you can actually hear them now. I mean, it's amazing. There was almost zero wave signature on there. Let's see, how do I do this? Is it that one? Yeah, that's good. I agree. I rewatched the press conference on your enhanced audio video. I could hear all the questions. Excellent work. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, no problem. Man, I got up at 6 in the morning, which is really early for me since my shows go late usually. And then I did like almost 3 hours, and I went to sleep for 3 hours after that. So, anyways, we'll go over the impact statements here in a minute, but we only got 7 minutes until I guess maybe I could do Joshua's really quick. How about that? This is the first cousin. I guess it's Tara's kid. I would like to start off, Joshua's the name. I would like to start off by thanking the prosecution team and all the law enforcement who was involved in the case for the countless hours of your guys' time that was dedicated to this case, and I can't thank each of you enough. You can tell from the beginning that the case was very important to them, and they did everything they could to find justice for these two beautiful girls. And I guess they're about the same age, these two, or would be, you know. I would also like to thank our little community. Or maybe he's the same age as Kelsey, maybe, because he's a race car driver. You can tell from the beginning that this case was very important to them, and they did everything they could to find justice for these two beautiful girls. I'd also like to thank our little community. You guys have been so kind to our family with the love and support you have shown us. From painting the town teal and purple to feeding us every day throughout the trial. I seriously can't thank you guys enough. Our town may be little, but this goes to show that in time of need, our community pulls together. Libby was my first cousin. I guess I could have just read that. My first cousin, but the bond we had together was a brother and sister bond that nobody could break. So I guess, yeah. I'm not sure what his age is comparatively. When we were younger, we were together almost every day. It was always Kelsey, Libby, and my brother and I. We would ride the bus to my grandma's after school, and you would never know what kind of trouble we would get into. Libby was one of a kind. She would give the shirt off her back to someone who thought needed it more than her. She was always trying to find a way to help people and make things easier on everyone. She truly was going to do great things in life. I will forever remember Libby by the amazing memories we made and not how Richard Allen left them on February 13, 2017. He took so much away from both of the girls. They had amazing lives ahead of them. The pain he has put both of our families through could never be forgiven or forgotten. The things we had seen, we will never be able to unsee, all because of him. This man has made my life and my family's life a living hell for the past 8 years. Now it's time for his life to be a living hell. 23 hours a day, no communication, isolation from everyone. That is what this man's life is going to be like until he dies. I don't know if that's actually how it's going to be for him. If he's in prison, he doesn't get the death penalty. Richard Allen took two amazing little girls with so much life ahead of them from my family and the Williams family way too soon. And for this action, I hope and pray he lives the rest of his life thinking of the mistakes he made that day. I would like to leave you with this. God doesn't have a place for sick, twisted-minded individuals like Richard Allen. The devil has a special place in hell for him, and I hope the prison community can get him quicker than the sentencing. He's a dead man walking. Man, this guy, he went off. Good for him. Judge Gohl, I ask you to take in consideration the max sentencing with no parole. There should be no way this man has a chance to get out of prison and be able to have the ability to do what he did again. Granting him no parole will solidify that. That's it. So that's pretty sweet. I mean, that guy, Joshua went off on Richard Allen. Good for you. Boom! Because Richard Allen is a pile of crap, everybody. He is the killer. There is no doubt. He is Bridge Guy. Therefore is the killer. Hey, thanks, CR. Did you guys notice that CR was trying to go for a wave there? Also, we do have the buy me a coffee thing going on, but I don't know if I have have it on the screen. But it's in the links. All right. So what time is it? 6:28. Don't leave CR hanging, you guys. That's the no-no in here. You guys do that to Amber Maiden all the time, but let's not leave CR hanging. That was Joshua, the first cousin. What was the reason they think it's such a hardship on Richard Allen's wife for him to be sentenced to prison? Oh, just that, she wasn't I'm not even sure what, what Richard Allen really, I know he worked over at the pharmacy, but he wasn't really, I guess together they probably had a decent living. Hey, there's Herbert Landscaping. Didn't leave CR hanging. All right, let's see. Hey, what's going on? Frank Meister. I heard you ask the question. Man, why'd you ask him that one? You put him on the ropes right out of the gate. Hey, Nick, you said that there was possibly more than one suspect in that case. And he's like, yeah, well, they thought that maybe at the time. Okay. They did think that at the time because I think they thought that Keegan Kline perhaps was connected to why Richard Allen was at the bridge. I bet you if I asked you guys, I did a poll that said, do you think Richard Allen knew that Abby and Libby would be there? And I said yes or no. I think most people would say yes. You know that? And then you say, well, then how did he know that? Did he have some sort of analog sort of communication with somebody? I guess that could be it. Because remember, the three girls said that he had his head down, looked like he was on a mission. And then even Betsy Blair said that it looked like he was waiting for somebody. I just wasn't the one he was waiting for. So then who was he waiting for? Because when he was there, Abby and Libby weren't even on the trails yet. And they were behind Betsy Blair. All right, so hold on. Looks like Lauren just showed up. Are you available or want me to add you? Okay, here we go. Well, there you are. Let's see. You there? I don't know if your audio is working or not.
I can't hear. Let's see. Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Great. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Why can't we hear? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me, Gray?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear now. Now I can hear. Now I can hear. Okay.
Okay, so you can probably hear on speakers or something in the background. Do you have yourself on echo cancellation?
Let me check. You're very tech savvy always. So let's see here.
Because I think sometimes when there's audio that plays, it does
I
it.
have, I have echo cancellation, but I don't have reduced mic background noise. Let's try that. That's new. So how's that?
Testing.
Testing.
Oh, there you go.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
because I can't hear myself now, so that's good.
Okay.
All right, so you went back out there again.
Yeah, here I am.
You had to see it through.
I did have to see it through, but more important than that, I think I really wanted to hear from the victims. They were the surviving victims. They're the only ones that we haven't been able to hear from throughout this whole trial, right? Because of this gag order. And I knew that this sentencing that we'd be able to hear from them and what they had to say about it all. And I thought that was really important to me. And so thank you also for sharing Kelsey's victim impact statement. That was
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And I'm very grateful for you and for everyone that has allowed these victims to have voices. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been so crazy over the years because I went to the the CrimeCon that was in New Orleans. Like I think it was in 2018 or 19 or something like that. And she was there, and I had her come over and she got on my mic and started talking, and then she met this other person there, but she was so young and so shy and stuff at the time. Like her face would always turn red when she tried to speak. And then over the years, she's just become really sort of a strong speaker, very confident person.
That's neat. Yeah. I can't imagine how much, right. She was so young when this happened. And so you've seen this transformation a bit of her.
Yeah. It's been amazing. Yeah. It's crazy. And she's one of the ones that's been one of the biggest targets online by a community of, I don't know what you call them, but I mean, it's just unbelievable. You asked a couple of questions today to both people. I saw your little short videos that you made where you said you asked them basically about that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Right. No, I know. Clearly I had, I guess you could say I had very specific questions I was asking. I just thought it was interesting. I've never been to a sentencing where a lot of the victim impact statements had to do with the defense attorneys. And I've never been to a press conference after sentencing where the police and law enforcement speak out about the defense. That's unique.
That was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Like all the
was, and so it left. Yeah, so it left me with questions. So that to me was the thing that stood out really powerfully. Like, wow. So when I had the opportunity to interview Doug Carter, I wanted to ask him, like, tell me, like, what you mean, like, what, like, tell him, and he said, I'd say it right to Rosie and to Baldwin here if they were here. I'm not mincing words. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't messing around when he was up there because he mentioned Baldwin and Rosie twice.
Yeah, by name.
I know. It's pretty amazing. You never see, especially in that negative light like that. Not like, hey, we really respected them. They tried their best, but that guy was guilty. It was like, man, these guys tried to kind of interfere with sort of the rational flow of a case. I mean, you read the that Odin document, right?
The Frank's memo? The Frank's memo?
The memorandum.
Yeah, I've read it. Yeah, I've read it multiple times. Yeah.
That's like the craziest damn, it's a ludicrous document. I mean, especially
I've never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was, what was the so the whole thing with remember how the crime scene photos were leaked? I don't know if you remember that, but
no, I do. So I remember when they were leaked. I was not reporting on it. I learned about it. I was also following murder sheets. I saw them on Banfield when things happened. I was following, and I wasn't expecting all of that to come back to it. Makes sense because it did re-victimize the victims. But yeah, that and the fingers were pointed. The fingers were pointed at Richard Allen's counsel when it came to that.
Yeah, because it led all the way back to their office. But here's the crazy part that I always want people to know is there's a guy named Mitch Westerman who would eventually, he was the firewall. He's a guy who was a friend with Baldwin. And he said he went into their office and he took photographs of the crime scene photos because he was just waiting for them. And he pulled out his phone and he started taking pictures of them. Then he shared them with a guy named Robert Fortson, and Fortson shared it with a guy named Mark Cohen. And turns out that Robert Fortson's the one that killed himself during the investigation. He felt so, we don't know what the reason was, but he took his life during that, which is just absolutely crazy. But here's something crazy is Mitch Westerman, he already had the Frank's memorandum with the attachments. So he didn't need to take the photographs of the images sitting around in the office. So what I think he really was doing was he put them out there to try to help solidify the Odinist theory with the branches and things like that.
Right.
And then when the investigation led back to the office, he was the one that took it the fall. But I think he was deployed to put them out because he already had those images.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird. I did not know that. You know what I didn't know? I didn't know, and it was spoken about a few times by Nick McClelland and by the Patties. I didn't know that there was somebody, an attorney, who said, "Oh, I'm okay with them being out there."
Huh.
Did you know? I didn't know about that. Like there was an attorney that said in front of Judge Gull, I'm okay. Like it's probably best that they're out there or something. That was said in victim impact.
A prosecutor said that?
No, defense attorney saying it's okay that the crime scene photos are out there. Yeah. I don't care.
Jesus, I mean, have you ever seen I don't think there's ever been a judge that's went out of her way to protect that sort of integrity in a case. That's why it was so locked down. They didn't want any chance that those crime scene photos could make it out of there. And, and I think she did great at that, but it's just that the defense team leaked those photographs. They never would have made it out of there had that not happened.
Right. And so I actually was able to share the Patty's victim impact statements on my channel earlier today. Mm-hmm. And so it was in their victim impact statement that this happened. And then it was also said in the press conference. But yeah, I want to know who if the attorney is, if anybody knows. I mean, not that I want to out him. I'm just really curious about this moment, Yeah.
So. I keep getting blown up on my Facebook. I don't know what's going on. It keeps going. I don't know if you can hear it. It's background sound, so you probably aren't listening to hear it. But yeah. Man, it's just been an absolute, 8 years of just, and what's amazing is it's kind of stayed the same the whole time. There was just a missing person. Like the flow of the crime has been the same across the bridge, down, and then across, and then over there, across the creek. But they were always just waiting for, the person. You remember the 2019 press conference when I think it was Doug Carter. He said, "We want to know who the person who was parked at the abandoned CPS building. We want to know who the driver of the vehicle, right?" And it seems like he had all these questions that they had over the years, and then Richard Allen answered every single one of them. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, I know. Gray, I have some questions for you, if that's okay. I'm on your channel as a guest, but can I ask you some questions because I really want to know?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, you've been on this case since the very beginning. I want to know why. What was it about this case that you started reporting on it and getting involved, and then became somebody that many of these surviving victims and family members could rely on? And I watched you on the Crime Nation documentary. I'm just curious. How did you start reporting on Delphi? It was almost 8 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, that's sort of interesting. I covered a lot of cases just on social media prior to that. I wasn't really a YouTuber, I guess. And then the night that they were missing, in my little Facebook group, they go, "Hey, look at these two girls are missing." So we were watching the news footage of that. And then all of a sudden the next day they're found. And then it just became like, oh my God, what happened here? And then photographs were released. And then it just became something where I was so interested in because, I'm pretty good with the maps and everything. And then I think Becky, I reached out to Becky and then we started communicating, and then she helped me out with some timeline information. And I just started really, they were really good people. And I just felt like I could help out and get the story out there and keep it alive and keep things going. And then it just sort of became a battle between the conspiracy theorists and like the normal rational minded people. And then it sort of takes away, but at least like even when you ask Becky, I'd say, oh, God, how do you deal with this? And she goes, you know what they're putting out there isn't accurate, but the fact that they're putting something out and giving attention to the case, she'll take it.
Wow.
I mean, isn't that amazing?
What a good attitude. Yeah. Just to say, keep the attention here. I saw them tonight, by the way. Delphi is a small town.
Yeah.
They said they were talking to you earlier today.
Yeah.
That,
I talked to,
yeah.
She sent me all those victim impact statements also, but I put out Kelsey's because hers I don't think was generally out there. It kind of
Kelsey's was not part of court today. That's why I thought it was so important that you shared it, and we're making sure to share that everywhere because we're so grateful for Kelsey's voice. So thank you for sharing it. I did not know about it until I saw that you had it. So thank you.
And now that you've been covering it for a while now, I mean, don't you can see why people were so interested in it, right? I mean, it's an interesting case, but it's also just
I could always see why people are interested in it. I, like you too, I admittedly I wasn't podcasting on it, but I knew about it. I'm a news junkie. I'm a retired TV reporter. So the day it happened, I knew about it. I knew when they were missing before the bodies were found. Like I saw the news of 2 missing girls in a town in Indiana. And I've told this story before, but it was actually so February 14th, 2017 is the day I got an ultrasound where I learned I was having a baby boy. And I will never forget that day because I had heard about the missing girls. And I remember so clearly learning that they'd found their remains that day. Just as quickly as we learned that there were missing girls, they found their remains, and just thinking about how different my day was. Like, it was like one of the happiest days of my life and how different it was for those 2 families. And that was when I followed it from the public very early on, through the news cycle and just learning all the updates. But you're right, it wasn't until Richard Allen was arrested that I went live. And it was that first day, when the day he was arrested, I was like, oh my gosh, because I had been following it from the public. And so, but I'd been following you guys. And I know that, I admit I've always shared this, like I wasn't on it like you and other incredible YouTubers that were doing it, but I was certainly caring from a distance. And, but when that Frank's memo came out, I actually was at CrimeCon myself. I was with Trisha Griffith from Web Sleuths, and she was talking about it, and we were talking about it. We did like a live at Web Sleuths because we just couldn't believe that this Odinism thing came out. Like it was just that. And that was the moment I was like, what is going on in Delphi?
Yeah.
Like, that was the moment for me, what in the world?
It's crazy because that was a weird one because I was in Moscow, Idaho I was driving the routes that Koberger drove around. Okay. And then I think it was on the way back, a friend of mine called and I pulled over, and she told me that there's information coming out regarding this Odinist stuff, and it's going to be coming out pretty soon. And then about 2 weeks later, I was driving to Delphi, Indiana, because I was in that documentary, and I was driving there. And then on the way there, it gets released. And I was like, holy crap, we knew about this. It got released. And then my wife was driving, and then I had to do this thing where I had a laptop and I was reading the Odin document streaming while driving like through, I don't know, Nebraska or whatever the hell it was. But I was able to get through some of it. But man, it just like that whole part where it was this one single solitary man acting alone with dexterity. That whole portion was nuts. Okay. So once I started reading that, I just go, okay, this is the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. You could make brushing your teeth seem like the most complicated event in history, right?
Right.
If you explain it the way they did it. Right.
The other thing I want to thank you for, Gray, and I think it's so helpful for me to come out are your maps, because seeing we're talking about the conspiracy theories, you're bringing them up. Seeing the bridge in the area is so important to this case. And you brought that visual for the public. Like, you brought that to life because it was very confusing, and the conspiracy theories are very confusing until you see it. And like, it makes sense when they go down the hill, when he's laying in wait.
Mhm.
And when you realize that no one can cross that bridge unless they've been across it before, right? And that it's someone local, and that that they're trapped on the other side of the bridge. Like, that. Like, once you're there, you're like, they had nowhere to go. And then you see the down the hill, and you realize that there's no place for them to get in a car. Like, this idea that they got in a car is ridiculous. There's no car. There's only one place to go after the bridge, and it's not back across the bridge. It's down the hill. It's the only place. Some people have tried to say there's no way they went down the hill. Where did they go then? That's the only.
They want to say he went into the car on the private drive that's right below there. But it's a private drive.
Why didn't they run? They started running across the bridge that they would have fallen from and died. Like,
yeah,
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you see that and it all makes sense, and how they filmed and how he was there. And I don't know. So I think that your work, I just want to say too, has been so important over the years, because not everyone can come to Delphi. And,
thanks.
yeah. And I've gotten some things wrong. Like I said, I was watching it from the surface, as for the public, the news cycle. And then when I was digging deep, like, we needed your information, and like, I've had to rely on you so much as I've tried to like understand everything during the trial too. So just thank you for what you've done.
Well, like we have to say thanks to you too. Yeah, I mean, your coverage during the trial was, I think, the best out of anybody out there. You get to sit and listen and feel like you were there. I mean, I don't know how. It's weird too, because you did it like in an hour and a half, 2 hours, when the trial was actually 8 hours or something. But somehow,
right. I know you have breaks. And I'm writing and I'm missing things, and we'll all learn once we get the transcripts. Everything that all of us maybe didn't exactly get, but I did try my best, and I had arthritis in my hands for weeks. And you asked to see my notes once, and I took pictures, but I don't know if I ever sent them. But like, it's just like, I have, like, you'll see how I write. Here, I have some here.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of curious on how that works.
I mean, it's just really fast. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just really fast.
Yeah, at least it's legible. You can read.
Yeah, and then like, I'll leave spaces where I didn't totally get it, but I know exactly how it ends, and then I go back when there's just like a pause, and I don't know. So yeah.
I see, that kind of makes sense. Like, when somebody's like changing out witnesses, you can just kind of fill in.
Right. Boom. I know what that said, and I have it in my brain. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, there certainly will be things once the transcripts come out that will, be able to fill in some blanks.
I called the lady that does the transcripts, and she said that they'll be available after the appeal. Like, if they file for an appeal, then the transcripts are used for the appeal, and then they're part of the public document.
Oh.
So I guess if it's appeal, he doesn't file an appeal, then they're available then too. But it's only going to be after the appeal. That's when those documents become available. So shouldn't be too long, right? Doesn't he have a certain amount of time? Did you hear that? What was it?
Yeah. Well, how much time? I'm asking I just turned to my roommate. I'm like, they did. What? How much? 30 days.
30 days.
Wow. Per my roommate. See, that's what else. So my note taking's amazing. I've got roommates too. I'm like, what? I missed that. What they say? And then I go, okay.
Yeah. How many people did you? Oh, good.
Oh, okay. It wasn't up to the attorneys. It's up to Richard Allen to do it. The appeal.
I thought it was 30 days. I just didn't.
30 days. Yeah, 30 days. Yeah, it's interesting. And of course, the victim impact statements also said, they made a request to not appeal and to let the girls rest in peace and to stop the appeals.
I heard a lot of the sort of pro Richard Allen crew wasn't there today for the whole thing. Which is
probably a lot of people, and I appreciate this. Lieutenant Holman said during my interview with him, he said, "Look, I realize that there are creators that are more biased towards the prosecution and more biased to the defense, and I respect that. This is America." I was like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Lieutenant Holman. And so those maybe that were more biased towards the defense and believing that Richard Allen was innocent, they were not here today. You're right. Like, a lot of those well-known creators were not here. So yeah, they
Yeah.
just weren't.
I guess people would throw me in there as, oh, you're biased towards the prosecution. But my thing is just when the
You're
probable cause
biased towards
document,
evidence. You're biased
right,
towards
right,
evidence. Yeah.
right. When the probable cause document came out, I went through it meticulously, and really, I feel the same after going through that as I did after the trial was over, but a little bit even more resolved because there were so many other little chunks of circumstantial and direct evidence that went in there that just go, oh wow. But he was locked in as bridge guy even during the probable cause document. I mean, it's amazing. He has no escape from it, just logically.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Didn't see any jurors in there today, by the way. People asked me that. Did any jurors like attend? Not that I could see. I mean, if there was a juror there hiding, I didn't see them.
oh man, that'd be the worst place in the world for if they showed up there, then they'd be bombarded because people knew that they were there, right? They recognized them, right?
I am curious though if they're going to speak. You know, they've had, you know, quite a while to kind of process and go back now and watch and listen to podcasts or go watch your material. And I'm curious now what they think.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll hear from any of them.
I even made one towards the jury. I said, hey, jury, you got it right. And here's why, you know, I just went through the same stuff. I mean, logically, you can't escape it. But Richard Allen is the guy, you know.
Yeah.
So, yes. So what? I guess let's see. Like today, when you were sitting in there, I mean,
what was it like?
Yeah, just in that. I guess in both places. Maybe you could describe in the courtroom and then over at the press conference. That's probably a little bit more casual, I would imagine.
Yeah, the press conference was casual. And so in the sentencing today, you know, it was solemn. There wasn't the stress like with the verdict. It was like we all knew why we were there, which could be why a lot of those creators that were more pro defense didn't show up, right? It was like we all knew why we were there and what we were going to hear, that we were going to hear victim impact statements. And so I think there was a bit of more peace today than say other days. It was sad and solemn though. And it was interesting seeing Richard Allen walk in his prison outfits. You know, we've only been seeing him in button downs and khakis. And so he walked in completely shackled and in his orange jumpsuit, although he had a sweatshirt on top. And then he was carrying a Bible in front of him, which I thought was interesting because then Lieutenant Holman said,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. And then Lieutenant Holman says, the first thing he says is he manipulates with religion and he's walking in, you know, carrying a Bible. I mean, I don't know, maybe he just wanted to have a Bible. I don't want to judge, but, and so completely shackled. And then, no one, all of these reserved seats for the Richard Allen family and nobody was there. And that was different too, because there had been people there every day, even creators that sat with the defense, right? Like Richard Allen's family, Bob Mata would sit with the defense during the trial, with defense diaries. And so the friends that were there with the family and the creators, like none of them were there. And so there was just all of these empty seats. And then on the other side, all of the seats for the victims' families, they were completely full. And I think they kept waiting just to give them an opportunity that they can come. And then Richard Allen came in and I thought, man, there's all these empty seats. There were so many people in the public that didn't get in because they only let like 13 people in at first. And then at about 8:58, after they let Richard Allen in, they let about 5 more people come in public. So they filled the courtroom. And Kathy Schenck was there and about 14 different police officers. I didn't see Doug Carter in there or anything, but then people said he's probably over at that press conference waiting, which is where he was. And yeah, so that was it. And it was very quick. You know, it was about the victim impact statements because Richard Allen didn't testify or share anything. And that was it. That was
pretty nice. It's pretty, I actually, if they did it intentionally to be like respectful of the family, I appreciate that. I was actually expecting to hear, you know, that, oh my God, the pro Richard Allen types were going, that's a bull, you know, and different elements of when the impact statements were being made. I thought we'd hear about that, but apparently they weren't even there to do that because they sometimes I feel like they're that sort of, I don't know what you call it, like hateful towards the family, that there would probably be one of them would have an outburst at some of the stuff that like Mike Patty said, at the end, like, hey, I hope, at the very end, he was saying some stuff that like, hey, hope you suffer in prison and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I would say the same thing, I think.
Right. No, yeah, and it's a good point. And if Richard Allen wasn't testifying, you're right. It probably was easier for the victims' families. That's a good point. It's a good point. So
yeah. Well, and also back to the religious part of it. I know you got to go in a little bit, but the religious part. Let's see. See, the thing is, remember how he confessed after finding God?
Yes.
And he did confess. So I feel like it isn't. I mean, he might be doing it fake now. It's fake now, but maybe it wasn't for a while there.
Well said. That is a very good point, and that's where I think I give him a benefit of the doubt. Is I do believe there was some truth to him finding religion. He's not a religious guy, and the confession started after he allegedly found God, and he was wanting to see a pastor, and he was, wanting to talk to, some religious authorities. And I heard that he wanted to see his family again. Like, he's this dependent personality disorder who believes I might not see my family now in this life, but I can be with them in the hereafter. And this had been weighing on him, and he had anxiety. And so he confessed. And then where he is now with that, I don't know, but he's not confessing now anymore. And he's wanting to make an appeal, allegedly. And so, so then you have to wonder, right? So like the religion thing is confusing. I'm like, so are you at a place where you want to confess again and you're holding this Bible, or are you saying, oh, look, I'm still religious, even though I'm not? I know it's weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's almost like, I think he really, when he was in there, he was so distraught, feeling disgusted by himself. And he thought he could redeem himself, find a redemption by somehow confessing. And he found God, and he thought, I just want to be with my family in the afterlife. But then I feel like his attorneys, I mean, have you ever seen somebody confess so many times so rationally where nobody wanted to listen to him, and they almost forced him to go to trial? I mean, it's unbelievable, right?
Right. And then to like say, oh yeah, no, I know, I've never seen that ever. Because usually confessions are like the done deal, right? The confessions are like the dude, you confessed, and this guy confessed 61 times. You're like,
yeah, he even signed one.
I know. So yeah, it was it. I don't know why that happened. I am also seeing in your comments, I'm seeing that people are saying, I thought someone got in McClelland's face. So at the end of the sentencing today, there was a moment between McClelland and Auger, and everyone
Who's
was
Auger? Is that I don't know who that is.
The female defense attorney.
Defense attorney. Okay.
Yeah. And so she was over on her side on the right, and he was on his side on the left, and everyone was leaving. And then she walked over to him, like they were out there very angry, and pointed her finger at him and got very, very mad at him. We have not seen that all trial. And he sort of talked back. You couldn't totally hear it, but she was very angry. And then she walked over, she grabbed her purse and her water bottle and stormed out.
What do you think that could possibly be? Can't they just say what they want to say? I mean,
yeah, no, a reporter boldly asked during the press conference, and McClelland said that he was going to keep that private, but it had something to do with facts or things stated in the trial or today. Yeah. So
at the actual trial, or you think it was regarding the
well,
trial?
I don't know. So I need to go back and watch the press conference. So don't quote me on trial. I don't know if he meant today at the sentencing or the trial. And if anybody saw that press conference today where he answered that, you guys might know. But the anger happened today. So I don't know if she's all of a sudden it's been pent up and she's going to say, hey, and got angry at him today, or if it happened today. So
when you think back at the trial, was there anything at all that was strong where you go, wow, maybe it isn't Richard Allen? Because I never can find anything other than Betsy Blair, somebody's comment, but she was 111 feet away. So what do you think?
That's a good question. I will say that I think at the beginning of the trial, as they're setting the stage and they're going, in order of events to keep things clean with the timeline, Richard Allen isn't even in the picture yet, right? It's just like this happened to Abby and Libby, and this happened and this happened and this happened. And so you're not really connecting dots at first. And I can see why many people weren't sold on it being him, Richard Allen, right away, because they're not necessarily connecting the dots. They're not even bringing up Richard Allen's name. And here's this man on trial. So you're wondering, how are they going to connect the dots? Where does Richard Allen come in? So I think that was maybe the first couple of weeks. And that could have been a moment where people were creating maybe doubt in their mind. But for me, one of the most, and during that time, you're seeing the crime scene photos and they're really sad and they're really heartbreaking, but they're still not tying it to Richard Allen. So for me, one of the most profound moments in the trial where I think everyone was just like, was the day that the defense brought in confessions, and it wasn't his voice confessions that they recorded to his wife, and it wasn't even the confessions to Dr. Walla. It was when they brought in one by one so quickly. It was about 7 different people back to back to back that were correction officers, so employed by the prison, and each one shared their different story of him confessing to them. And it was just like boom, 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 but like so many witnesses back to back to back to back to back. And I think that was the moment for me that everything changed. And after that, it was really hard for me to understand people just trying to say he was completely innocent. To me, it was like saying that you don't believe a woman that's been like raped, right? That's a big thing. Believe women, believe children that say they're abused. And here you have different witness after different witness saying like the exact same confession. I'm like, this isn't, and he's clearly not in psychosis. And they're all like, it was just like, and maybe you had to be there. Like, I just can't imagine anyone believing that he was innocent after that moment. For me, that was what really got me. But I mean, I remained open, but I was like, that was very hard to explain away.
Well, it was interesting watching your kind of progression through the case, because or not the case, but during the trial, like you were kind of at first like really, open, like, hey, they haven't really said anything yet. But then as pieces started coming in, like, I think privately, you're probably a little bit more like, wow, this looks like somebody did, but you got to maintain objectiveness while you're doing the.
Absolutely. No, certainly. I was starting to believe he was guilty. And I still, though, was not going on my channel and stating that. And I think you saw that. I was just like, I am here to relay the info. You guys are all adults and you can figure it out. I'm not going to start another, theory. We have plenty of those. So
yeah,
I just was like, look, there's no cameras in there. I'm just going to keep relaying what I'm hearing. And then it was after all the evidence was laid out that I decided to share my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you heard those, is that before they started laying down like the bullet, and was that the order it went when we started talking about the bullet and his when he was there at 1:30 to 3:30? The
timeline. That was big, though. That was a big day too when they started laying out the timeline. That was also big. That was more of the puzzle pieces. But for me, these confessions that he told the correction officers, that wasn't that day. That was just them coming in going, this is what he told me. And he said,
was that after though? Were those confessions after the Dan Doolin?
Oh man, it's such a blur, Gray. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm like,
yeah, I don't really remember it. I don't think anybody can just pull that out of their.
I think it was after. I think they really kind of started with, well, no, hold on. Yeah, I think it would have been before. It would have been before. Like the way they laid it out in order.
That'd be a really interesting way to do it. Like you have the confessions, then you start building the Dan Doolin. I don't know. I mean, either way would work.
They went in complete order, so the timeline would have happened first. And like I was compelled by the timeline, but I didn't map it out like you did. I was just like, okay, this timeline makes sense. It makes sense. And so then they went in complete order. They didn't so they went to the interrogations. They went to the arrest, and then after the arrest, they got into the confessions. They just kept going. So they did the timeline before. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. I actually probably need to run. I know. And you said you have to go too, but I just thank you for letting me jump on. And again,
well, thanks for coming on. You know?
Yeah, and thank you again for giving Kelsey a voice today. We're sharing that everywhere. Today is about the victims, the surviving victims and the victims. And so I just thank you, and you have been so pro victims and caring about them. And I know that the surviving victims really, value you and your work. And so I just want to say thank you too, and thanks for giving me a chance too. I know I jumped on late, Gray. I know you were mad at first.
I
You
was
were pretty ticked off. It's okay. It's okay. I've been ticked off at you before too. We're good. And it is what it is. But the bottom line is we're adults and we care. And I just think your work on this has been remarkable. And so I'm glad.
You. Likewise. Maybe we'll get together on the Coburger one, because I live kind of closer and I have all the mapping on that one too. And
okay, there we go. Yeah, and I was a TV reporter in Boise, Idaho or in Idaho, all over the state of Idaho for quite a while, and we covered that. Yeah, so we'll get together with it. Cool. Yeah, you do the maps, and I'll do the non-maps.
Then you can have your husband analyzing him. So
there you go. Yeah, and each other, and yes, you, me, everyone. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. We'll see you, Gray. Bye-bye.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Let me get back to, I don't like when my face is so big on the screen like that. Yeah. Anyways, thanks, Lauren, for coming on here. Lauren with Hidden True Crime. Now she's got another place to be. But she came on for 40 minutes or so. All right. So, hey, you guys, if you're out there, if you could help support the channel, that'd be great. We're currently at about 1/6. Again, another slow one. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, we've been, we communicate from time to time. Yeah, it's like snowing over there in Indiana, I think. I was raised in a church home. The church was next door. Yeah, well, she didn't, Tim, so not sure what that means. Yeah, she had to go. She had another show, actually. Let's see. Hope you to get together. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty awesome. To think that the poop eating was for nothing. Yeah, there's that one meme out there. I ate all that crap for nothing? Yeah. You guys want to hear the Doug Carter portion here? And then we'll listen to the questions. And then we'll get on to, or we could actually go, I guess we can do we did Joshua's. So why don't we do Mike's right now? Yeah, and then after that, near the end, we'll play the press conference portions again. I have all the question and answering. I boosted up the audio of the questions so you can actually hear it. It's on a video that I put out earlier that nobody, again, had very few views. So. Oh, I see, Zozo. Yeah, I was wondering why. I was going, man. Plus, he was speaking at the, he was speaking at the impact statement and didn't even know that they were doing this. This is impromptu. This thing here. That's why I was kind of like shocked that you were saying that. But I was good this time, wasn't I? I wasn't too overboard on that. Yeah, I guess am I on this? I don't even know what screen this is on. No, that's the middle one. I guess if I go to this one, it's the same thing. There we go. Hey, we got the buy me a coffee up in the upper left-hand corner. If you guys want to help do that as well. But all right. Let's do Mike Patty. I recorded this earlier, but maybe I'll probably upload the video of this by itself so they're all by themselves. I read it. I'm sure it's not as good as the AI reading of it. All right. So this is by Mike Patty. He said, "We appreciate your two honorable." Oh, hold on a second. All right, so we're going to start reading this, but yeah, on this channel, every single night, the freaks help support the channel. We're getting, we're already 2/3 of the way through the month, and the goal for the end of the month was, to bring in the income for the channel, but then also be able to donate $4,000 so that we can get to 50,000. But I don't know if that's something that's possible. I know it's Christmas time, but if you're out there and you have the ability to help support my channel, I do make an income on here. There is no ad revenue to speak of. Usually when I'm done with my show, YouTube jumps in there and turns off the ads because of a word that I might have said, like, well, I guess why would I just say it randomly? And so basically it comes down to the generosity of you guys to help support the channel on a nightly basis. All right. And so that is kind of, what we've been doing. This channel's donated $221,000 since January of 2020. All right. So, I try hard to bring in the revenue on a daily basis, and that allows us to be able to do that at the end of each month. All right. So if you have the ability to, that would be great. Thank you. Hey, welcome, Martian Bigfoot. And so currently we have just 2 new members, and we're at 1/6 of a nightly goal. All right. This is to Honorable Judge Frangol from Mike Patty. We appreciate your firm, fair guidance and direction. Maybe I should try to sound like him. We appreciate your... No, I can't do it. We appreciate your firm, fair guidance and direction, your ability to thwart off all the unnecessary noise and acts that were deployed during this process. And what they're talking about is the Odin document. Thank you for standing firm and staying focused on what needed to be done. I requested you provide the maximum sentence allowed by our justice system, and whatever that sentence is, would also have no possibility of parole. I don't know if they have that. I mean, I think 130 years is kind of like no chance for parole. Hey, thanks, Julia Burns. Maybe Richard Allen can come eat up that dog poop on your carpet. Yeah, maybe. I don't really have any on the carpet. We have these little, like, mini pads for them. Currently, they're really good about going to the bathroom on the pads, though. They don't ever go to the bathroom on anything other than the pads, which is a good thing for the winter time, I guess. You could put a pad sort of by the door, and then they'll go over there, and then you can just pick up the pad. And then he said, there's no parole available, and the reason he wants no parole, because there's no parole available to our girls. For this, I will never forget, he says. To the jury, he did not read that because the jury wasn't present, but if there was a jury, he would have said, we appreciate your time spent here and being away from your families. You've had to see and hear things in our society, and it should not be so. But unfortunately, due to the acts of the convict, this what needed to be done. Being able to absorb and look at things objectively through an unfiltered lens and delivering the verdict, thank you. For this, I will not forget. And then to the prosecution, we appreciate your willingness to stay on task, putting in numerous hours, putting this case above many of the personal needs, of your personal needs. The result speaks to itself, but wanted to share our deepest gratitude. For this, I will never forget. And then to the investigative team, we appreciate we appreciate your determination, I think is what he meant to put, and grit to stay on this for so many years. I have observed from the outside while you investigated so many tips that many have no idea about, all to deliver proof and get to the bottom of the case. Never once did I hear we are out of options. This was almost a full court press to bring justice in this case. For this, I will never forget. It's weird, too, because had that original tip to Dan Doolin, or the tip by Richard Allen that Dan Doolin followed up on, if that had just made it to the right eyes, none of that, the case would have been over in a week, 2 weeks maximum. And then to the family, I am so blessed to have, let me see, did I finish that one? All deliver proof and to get to the bottom of this case. Never once did I hear we were out of options. There was always a full court press to bring justice in this case. For this, I will never forget. To the family, I'm so blessed to have such a loving and welcoming family. Only wish I could have prevented any of them from happening. It says could have prevented any of this from happening, and wish I could have protected everyone from having to go through this. Our family is strong, and we will march forward and continue to grow. For this, I am grateful. Thanks, Alley Cake. Alley Cake's trying for a wave. Not looking too likely, but thank you. And then to the defense, I understand the role you needed to play, but I cannot connect the ways of our legal system to allow so many things to interfere with the truth and facts to simply be brought before a jury. I cannot imagine our forefathers ever envisioned the attempts to suppress and divert the facts would ever be part of our justice system. One should reflect and review their position to support truth, justice, and the American way. Your inept ability to protect some of the most personal facts, in this case, the crime scene photos, and making statements that you really didn't care they were out there. So I guess that's what he said. And making statements that you really didn't care that those images were out there. I think I sort of remember that vaguely, like Baldwin or somebody like that. My family will forever have to explain how these are available to people to search. What do I say to my kids, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? What will you tell your grandkids? I hope you tell them the truth. I surely will. For this, I will never forget. Thanks, Allie Cake, Michelle H., and Herbert Landscaping. And don't forget to get some memberships out there, people. Like, there's a lot of white names in here. Maybe they want to, become members. I guess if they did, they would have got one, right? What will you tell your grandkids? I hope you tell them the truth. I surely will. So he kind of lambasted the defense. It's pretty easy to lambaste the defense in this case because they weren't ethical at all. They were horrendous people. I mean, just disgusting. In my opinion, of course. Right? To the convict, I will never understand how you could have conducted such an atrocity. You killed my granddaughter nearly 8 years ago and have only thought of yourself. Your attempts of self-preservation are a result of how you really are. Once you committed this crime, you could have been a man, stood up and taken accountability, but you didn't. At any time during these proceedings, you could have stood up and taken responsibility, but you didn't, and were only concerned about yourself and tried to get away with murder. Actions always speak louder than words. By being so selfish, you continued to punish and hurt my family. For this, I will never forget. Your act of murder has tested my faith. I'm still not ready to provide forgiveness When I'm able to, it will be for my own faith and conscience, not yours. For this I will never forget. I have never felt such hatred and should not be this way towards another human being. But you have done has impacted so many people's lives. We will heal with the help of our pastor. I am lucky to have a great family and will enjoy the rest of my life helping and watching all of them grow from our kids to our great-grandchildren. This is something you will not get to take away, and you will never get to experience such joy and love as what my family has. Lastly, I hope the rest of your days are spent in as much fear as the girls had to experience the last part of their lives, and hope those moments haunt you the rest of your days. You deserve no better. Now is the time to stand up and take accountability. Put a stop to any future attempts to appeal so we can let Libby rest in peace. Mike Patty, grandfather, Liberty German. See that? That's pretty amazing, right? Hey, wow, look at that. Hey, thanks up there to Peggy Day and Texas Roadrunner, and CR gifted a membership. And that was given to Money Moves. All right. And then Peggy Day is 30 months as a Oogla Boogla freak, which is, what is that? Almost 2.5 years right there. Thank you. All right, so that was Mike. All right. Now, Becky's is the only one I haven't read yet. So hers is sort of interesting because you have to insert a page in there. Let me. Oh, that's why that's one out of order. Hold on. I put a space. All right, here we go. So the thing is, I wish I could read this. I wonder if I could. That looks pretty legible, but I don't know. I could probably have Chat GPT try to read it, but I'll just do it myself. Pretend I have a woman's voice. You do, Gray. I've heard you. Hey, thanks, Tim Harris. I think the case was bulletproof even without the confessions. I do too. Do you think the family hired a literary expert or poet to help with the victim? I don't, because there's grammatical errors and so forth. They're just like that. I think they just wrote them. They're good. Just good the way they are. I think they're natural. I mean, I would have 1,000 grammatical errors. I'd probably have misspellings all the way through, and they were very powerful rhetorically. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I went over the case many times, and the confessions were never part of the, like, I would just tell the story. I mean, the probable cause has no confessions. It doesn't have information that only the killer would know. It doesn't have cell phone data. It has nothing like that. It really just shows you that Richard Allen factually has to be bridge guy, and that's it. That's all you need to know at that point. He's the guy that said, guys, down the hill. Now, if he wants to come forward later and tell people that there was somebody else with him at the crime scene, well, he's more than welcome to do so. Okay, and then the law enforcement will arrest that person too. But that fact alone, see, the reason I would do this for Richard Allen. I would cut his sentence to 100 years. I would go to 100 years if he gives the name up of the other person that he claims, or he doesn't claim, but if there was anybody else with him there, give up that name. Because yes, we all want the other people to be, if there was, for them to be, charged and, brought justice upon if they were there. Right? But there isn't anybody else there. Because wouldn't he have cut a deal a while ago? Maybe he wanted to go through trial first time. And he's like, okay, I'll cut a deal now. And if there is, that just means that he is there and he committed felony murder with the kidnapping portion. And he was there. So that's why he can't really do that, because it would be admitting guilt. But I think now, if his attorneys really had any sensibilities at all, I don't know how his attorneys were able to convince a bunch of YouTube lawyers that he was just so innocent. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I haven't seen one thing, you guys. Have you? Is there anything out there that you look at and go, wow, he's actually innocent. He's being railroaded. There isn't a single thing that makes me think that way. There isn't even something that makes me go, that's interesting. There's nothing. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. There is nothing that makes me think that Richard Allen is not Bridge Guy, right? And I think a lot of you probably feel the same way. All right, here we go. The Honorable Judge Gould. This is I feel weird reading this as a guy, though. I mean, it's sort of. Let me just try really quick how quickly can. Let's see. Read full text of. Let's see. Maybe it's more like decipher text on image. All right. Let's see how good it does at this. Dragging it in. Let's see how good ChatGPT. I want to see if it can read it. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, it does sort of. Oh, you guys can't hear? Let me see. Maybe now I need to switch out of that echo thing. Hold on a second. I think that's it. Let me get rid of the echo. You should be able to hear it really easily now. Got rid of the echo removal. All right. You guys ready? What do you mean what's happening? God, Cindy, just calm down every once in a while, all right? Just every once in a while. Just. So there's the. I'll just leave the original on the screen. All right, so here we go.
Fear for liquid courage. He chose to lay in wait for his victims, to Honorable Judge Gull. Where does one start? How does one explain the effect of how one choice a person makes has on an entire family for generations to come? I don't think one can really explain and do it justice. There are not enough words in our language that begins to paint the picture of the grief we live with each and every day. Richard Allen was an adult, and he should be held accountable for the choices he made on February 13th, 2017. He chose not to go to lunch with his mom and sister, instead chose to drink beer for liquid courage. He chose to lay in wait for his victims, to order them down the hill. He had the opportunity to let Libby and Abby go when that white van drove by, but he chose not to do so. Instead, he chose to take them across the creek where he viciously murdered them, making sure they were dead before he went home and continued his life. Richard Allen viciously and heartlessly stole the choice to live from Abby and Libby that day. He was a coward and didn't want to be held accountable for his heinous choices and actions, so he just killed them and went home. I guess in his eyes, he was nice enough to make sure they were dead before leaving so they wouldn't suffer. A few days later, he developed photos for the family that would be used at Libby's funeral. He stood there watching the family members as they struggled to keep their composure while dealing with insurmountable grief and preparing for the unthinkable that lay ahead, not blinking an eye, with no remorse. I wonder what he was thinking. Our lives turned upside down that day, never to be the same again. Abby and Libby, two young teens with their entire futures ahead of them. They never got the opportunity to make their marks in the world. He stole that from them. Libby never got to go to prom, graduate, go on dates, go to college, get married, or start a family. She never got to be the best aunt ever. He robbed us all. The world was robbed of what could have been. All the while, he went on living his life. He was able to walk his daughter down the aisle and give her away at her wedding. I wonder, did he think of the girls at all while walking her down the aisle? Our families will never get the privilege of watching Libby or Abby walk down that aisle. He took that away from us. The impact of Richard Allen's choices made that day has haunted our families for almost 8 years and continues even now, because of choices he made. And
All right.
if you'd like more details or need assistance analyzing or summarizing this, let me know. This content may violate our usage policies. Did we get it wrong? Please tell us by giving this response a thumbs down.
Okay, yes, thumbs down. All right, here's part 2. Let me put that in there.
Here's the text from the second image. Subsequent arrest, he was appointed 2 lawyers to defend him. Those lawyers have done nothing but twist the knife around and around in our wounds Richard caused that day. Because of one lawyer's sloppiness, sealed crime scene photos of Libby's naked and mutilated body were left unattended, allowing images to be taken and spread around to people on the internet. As recent as this week, those crime scene photos were still being shared on the internet for no good reason or entertainment by many. Sharing those photos changes nothing. It doesn't solve the crime, it doesn't bring the girls back. So now, because of Richard Allen's choices that day and his lawyer's sloppiness, the impact has now become generational for us. One day, when Libby's nieces or nephews decide they want to learn more about their Aunt Libby, they may be faced with those horrible crime scene photos that were so carelessly taken care of. I wonder if his lawyer would have been so careless with those photos if they were photos of one of his children? Would he still have felt no accountability because he was snookered? And then you have the other lawyer who sat in the judge's chambers and stating he really didn't care that the photos had been leaked. I wonder if he would have been so callous and uncaring if those were photos of his child's naked and mutilated body being shared. Would he still not care?
All right, and then at that point, she inserted this part right here. I'll just read it myself. When does it ever stop? As recent as yesterday, the defense continued playing their games. They know law enforcement investigated their third-party theories with never being able to place any of those people at the trails that day. They continue their charade at the expense of Abby and Libby. We don't even want to go there talking about hardships caused to family. Richard Allen is not the victim. Okay, then this goes back over to here.
No. These professionals are allowed to claim no accountability for their actions and move on to the next case, disrespecting and devaluing the next victim and their families. Meanwhile, our families are left picking up the pieces because of their choices and actions. In the end, all these choices made by the defense team. The fallout our families now have to live with falls directly on the head of Richard Allen because of the choices he made on February 13th, 2017. I could go on and on about what we lost that day, but it would change nothing. The deafening silence in the house, the milestones missed, the grandbabies never to sit on our laps, the impact Libby and Abby would have had on so many lives. Talking about it won't bring them back to us. Nothing in this world can change the outcome of that horrific day. No matter how hard we wish or pray them back, they are gone forever. Only Richard Allen, making a different choice that day, could have changed it. Their lives were in the balance. He chose to kill Abby and Libby. Their lives mattered. He is the one responsible for all of this. All I can hope for now is that Richard Allen will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law for what he did that day.
Oh, weird. I wonder how it knew to say that day. because it's not there. Isn't that weird? It read that day, but it just says did that. They must have just assumed. It's pretty crazy. Let me put that in here. I bet it does say that. I'm going to put the next one in, though. Hey, thanks, Vegas Andrews, and also welcome to Lily Ray. Very cool. Oh, that wasn't the one. That was 3, 4. Oops. Wow. It actually was able to read that handwritten text amazingly. Let's see. All right, let me put a different one in here. We're on number 4, not 3. 3 was the one that I inserted in there. All right, here we go. We're on to the last one coming up here. It does say day. That's pretty cool. Come on.
Here's the text from the 4th image. Day. His sentence needs to reflect not only of murdering the girls, but also serving time for each day of life those girls still had in front of them, for every feat they may have accomplished. I feel he should serve 1 day behind bars for each future day he robbed from those girls. I hope he is not held in a single occupancy cell, since his attorneys feel it would be detrimental to his health. I hope he is ordered to reside in general population so he can have the human interaction he so craves and needs. Last of all, I hope he lives each day of the rest of his life, living with the same fear he bestowed on Abby and Libby the last hour of their lives. I hope the choices he made on February 13th, 2017 come back to haunt him, giving him no peace. I realize I should not feel this way, but I can't stop these feelings. I hope God can see my heart and can forgive me. I hope Richard Allen's new relationship with God will finally compel him to do the right thing and to stop this nightmare from continuing any longer. Not only for our families, but his as well. He needs to do what he knows God would want him to do. I hope he finally gives the girls the respect they deserve. Give them back the dignity he so callously took from them. Richard Allen took so much from our families in the world that day, but what he will never take from us is our memories we have of Libby and Abby. We will forever keep them alive, even if it can only be in our hearts. I live every day with the burden of the choice I made that fateful day. I can never change the results of my choice of letting the girls go to the trails, and I take responsibility for that. What about you, Richard Allen? Will you ever own up and take responsibility for the choices you made that day? Only you can stop this nightmare for all the families. You can make that choice. Let me know if further analysis or a summary is needed. Day.
Yeah.
His sentence needs to reflect not only of murdering the girls.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Well, it's pretty amazing to, like, it can read like that, you know, just put it in a document and it just reads it clear like it was in a story, you know. It doesn't, you know, when people are reading it, it's like, okay, you don't really know where the inflection's supposed to be right now when you're reading it, but somehow it knows how to do it. What do you guys think? Don't you think that's pretty valuable? You know, especially when it's longer, things like that, where I don't interrupt as much as well. I know you guys don't like that, you know. And also, thank you to, got a few, Daniel, and then also, who's that? Oh, that's something else. And then Toxic Tink and Lisa Valenzuela for the, oh, and also, why did I get that? Oh, Sandra Shirley, thank you. Very cool on PayPal there. Yeah, I like it. You know what's amazing at, you guys, is deciphering handwriting that looks like chicken scratching. It's unbelievable. I mean, it literally, you taking just a garbage. I did that during the trial, use it for the some of the handwritten what do you call it? The pool notes that they were taking. And my God, some of the stuff you just couldn't even tell what it said, and it figured out what it was saying. It wasn't perfect or anything, but it was sure a hell of a lot better than what I could see. I could tell you that. All right, now do you guys want to listen to? I'll put the on the screen. But did you put a 1 if you did not listen to the Kelsey audio video from earlier? So put a 1 in there if you have not heard that, to see if it's worth. It's pretty good. I mean, it's really well written, and you know. Yeah, that would be. I think it would. Lisa Valenzuela. I don't even think that's possible. It wouldn't be able to decipher that. All right, well, here we go. Let me open up her. You know, I'm not going to put the document on the screen, though. I'm just going to, like, play it. So here we go.
Dear Honorable Judge Gould, I have written this letter nearly 45 times since I was 17. Today, I am 24 years old and feel that no words can truly and fully articulate what our families have endured over the last nearly 8 years because of the actions of the defendant. This letter is a culmination of all of those letters and the feelings I have had throughout this process, and what it means to me today that the monster responsible for taking Abby and Libby from us stays in prison for the remainder of his life. I believe the best place to start is to tell you about February 12th, 2017. This is the date that bookends the period of my life with Libby, my sister, my best friend. This day felt so normal. Looking back now, I wish I had lived more in it. That night, Libby and Abby spent the evening with my friends and me watching movies before heading off upstairs to bed. I will never forget their laughter and smiles as they enjoyed their time together. Though I do recall feeling rather annoyed that they were being so loud and using my Netflix account at the time, I wish I were hearing those same laughs today rather than writing these words. The morning of February 13th felt very much the same as that evening. We had the day off of school, so I slept in. My dad made breakfast, and I had plans with my boyfriend before work that evening. I was in the bathroom when Libby walked in. Our relationship was like this our whole lives, an open door policy. If she needed me, no matter how small or insignificant the reason, she came to me. That morning was no different. As always, she wanted to go out and do something. She needed her chauffeur. She asked me to take her and Abby to High Bridge to walk the trails and take pictures with them. I had already made plans for the day, so I agreed to drop them off if they could get a ride back to the house. Once she told me she had made arrangements for my dad to pick them up, we headed off. At the time, arriving at the Mears entrance to the trails, I was in a hurry and ready to be at my boyfriend's house. Even still, I made sure the girls took jackets and told them to be careful. As our family always does, Libby said, "We will. I love you." I told her I loved her too, and I would see her later. The most normal exchange turned into a goodbye forever, and we didn't even know it. That evening, our worlds were turned upside down. The moment Libby didn't answer her phone, we knew something was wrong. She always had her phone in her hand, never went anywhere without it. I don't even remember a time where she didn't answer the phone on the first or second ring. And it was even less like her to not be where she said she would be when she was supposed to be. Our community band together, searching for them until they were found the next day, and continue to hold each other through this to this day. February 13th was the start of life without Libby, even before we knew that was what it was. See, you heard countless hours of testimony about the search efforts, about the people there, about the area of the bridge, but you didn't hear about how that night started a lifetime of heartache and trauma for many who loved Abby and Libby. That night, I slept in my grandparents' bed, my grandpa still out, and Grandma and me at home, awaiting a phone call or a knock on the door with answers. This was the first of many sleepless nights awaiting answers. On the 14th, when the girls were found, we were given even more unknowns. Who would do something like this? Who could do something like this? Why our girls? Why our town? Where was this person now? I remember feeling so scared and helpless. I ran on so little sleep and could hardly eat, even though strangers were bringing us the best smelling food. It was worse when I was alone. I couldn't turn the light off and be in a dark room without imagining a monster breaking into our home or watching us from the woods outside. So my grandparents moved a twin bed into their room for me. I slept there for months before I had the courage to go back upstairs at night. Even then, I would sneak back downstairs and sleep on the couch to be closer to them if Bree and Chase weren't staying with us. Eventually, the twin bed was taken out of my grandparents' room, and I started feeling safe again. We got a security system, went to self-defense classes, practiced shooting guns, all things we never would have even considered before. But when the picture and audio from Libby's phone were released to the public, the nightmares came. Prior to that day, I had been shielded from reality. This somehow made it even more real to me that a stranger had murdered my sister and Abby. This faceless, grainy figure became the subject of my nightmares. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart racing still. He would chase me in those woods for what felt like hours while I attempted to save Libby and Abby, but I was never able to reach them. In some of the nightmares, I was with them that day, walking the trails, and died alongside them. Truly, part of me did. Every time, I would wake up before seeing his face, and without knowing what had happened to them, I went to therapy session after therapy to work through these nightmares, and all that ever came out of them was even more sorrow and a PTSD diagnosis that will never go away. I didn't leave the house much in the year following Libby and Abby's murder, especially not alone. When I did, I was constantly watching the people around me, paranoid that any man that passed me could be the man from Libby's video. The number of pictures I had taken of random cars, men, license plates, etc., had to have been in the hundreds. Even when I went to college, I would find myself in tears while walking to class because I was so afraid of the strangers around me, eventually leading me to transfer to a university closer to Delphi. Little did I know, the monster was hiding in plain sight, right there in the very community I called home. Life went on in some ways. I went to prom that year, not without persuasion from my friends who wanted to help get me back to a normal life. I graduated high school, went to college, went through a breakup, and met my husband, all without knowing what happened to Libby and Abby. But life also stopped. As Libby and Abby's friends grew older, they remained 13 and 14 to our families. We still had to live the reality that there was a monster out there somewhere. We did the only thing that made sense at the time, make this monster's life so small that he'd have to be identified by someone. We talked to every news station and media person who would talk to us. We put up flyers in every county in Indiana. We put decals on semis, covered our community in ribbons and pictures of the man from Libby's phone. There was nowhere he could go without seeing himself looking back at him. In doing this, thousands of web sleuths started helping us in our search for justice. Good and bad, these people looked at every person under a microscope, especially our family. These armchair detectives would bash our family in online groups, dissecting our lives as if they knew us, truly believing that we were hiding something. To them, my grandparents were awful people. They believed I knew more than I was telling them. We were murderers and abusers. Strangers on the internet were saying things about me and the people I...
Yeah, this is where I'm going to jump in here. I think that the behavior of those people out there was absolutely disgusting. I'll even say their name. True Crime Design, dipshit, what's his face, Slow Joe, the Prof. Those people have been the most disgusting people that I've ever seen on the internet. They've gone after Kelsey, they've gone after Becky, they've gone after Mike, they've gone after the family relentlessly for years. And I hope to God that one of these people in the family do a civil lawsuit against those people, and they would win easily. All those people do is put out false information. They caused hate and anger and just a horrendous situation for them. Put their lives in danger because there's actually people out there that believe the absolute nonsense that those people put out there. And I think that there needs to be a lawsuit to set an example. And I hope to God, I've been saving the videos from those people, and I hope to God they do it. Man, those people have been the most disgusting people. And if you don't like me for saying that, then you're disgusting too. All right? Those people are disgusting people that are on YouTube, and they shouldn't be able to be on YouTube making those videos. Okay? I mean, unbelievable stuff. God, and if you watch that and give them a like, you're just as bad as they are. Okay, just as bad. And I'm not taking that back. And if that makes you want to unsubscribe, you go ahead and do it right the hell, right now. I don't even want you anywhere near this channel if you like that shit. God, it's sick. Unbelievable.
I loved most, but they had no idea who we were. Life stopped. My grandma became for justice.
I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
Good and bad, these people looked at every person under a microscope, especially our family. These armchair detectives would bash our family in online groups, dissecting our lives as if they knew us, truly believing that we were hiding something. To them, my grandparents were awful people. They believed I knew more than I was telling them. We were murderers and abusers. Strangers on the internet were saying things about me and the people I loved most, but they had no idea who we were. Life stopped. My grandma became consumed in Facebook groups, reading every single post, watching every single video. She would spend hours watching live streams, wanting to hear every single thing that was being said. This would go on until Richard Allen's arrest and even after. We didn't blame her. We still don't. There was never a right way to go about any of this. But this is just another example of how his choice to take the lives of Abby and Libby created a ripple effect in the lives of those who loved them. I don't think I saw my grandma really smile again until many years later. Even though we knew none of the things they were saying were true or based on fact, it was hard to read, and their words are permanently out there in the world for people to find. October 2022, we were notified about the arrest of Richard Allen. We had waited for so many years for this day to come. It didn't feel real or exciting. We didn't want to get our hopes up, but we knew the team working on the case would not make an official arrest without being completely sure they had the right guy. For me, it only took looking at his BMV picture to know it was him. I looked in his eyes, and there was nothing there. There was no soul behind them. Even looking at him now, I don't believe there is. A month later, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, a blessing our family didn't know that we needed. My husband and I hadn't planned on starting our family so soon, and I had promised Libby and myself that I wouldn't bring a baby into this world without being able to tell them what happened to the aunt they would never get to meet. God really knew we needed this girl. The moment she was born, I saw my grandma smile for the first time in over 6 years. She has brought us so much joy in some of the darkest moments. Though she will never get to meet her Aunt Libby, I know Libby got to meet her first. I am certain she was hand-picked and that her siblings will also be. It reminds us so much of Libby, her ability to make all those around her smile. Her giggle brings happiness to every room. She gives the best hugs and somehow, even as a toddler, knows when you need one. She doesn't know a stranger and wants to be everyone's best friend. It is a true travesty that she won't get to experience life with Libby. I know they would have been the best duo. I also know that someday my children will inevitably Google Libby's name, wanting to know more about this person I will no doubt talk so much about. When they do, I am heartbroken at what they will find. Not only will they see hurtful things about their mom and other family members, but because of the defense team's lack of professionalism, they will no doubt find graphic images of Libby and Abby. They will read court documents written by the defense that do not accurately depict the facts of the case, but rather a version of theory that cannot be backed up with evidence or logic. I will do everything in my power to shield them from these. But if nothing else, Richard Allen remaining in prison gives me peace of mind that they are safe from at least one monster.
Oh, by the way, the defense team recently, somehow through them, some of the autopsy photographs were released but apparently they're trying to get those all gathered up. That's what McClellan was talking about in his statements today. He didn't mention that specifically, but can you believe that? Well, what kind of nut jobs are these people? Hey, thanks, Michelle Wood.
Richard Allen was arrested. A chapter in our lives was able to close and a new one opened. We stopped talking publicly and were able to find a new normal as we worked through a new avenue of grief. Our lives were on pause as we awaited the trial, learning new information regarding the case against him slowly. When the day finally arrived that the trial would start, we prepared for the worst and held on to each other as we had the whole 7 years prior. The sigh of relief we felt when the guilty verdict was read could be felt throughout of community. Our families remained steadfast in our fight for justice over the years.
He was talking about the
Even when the possibility of
something
answers
else in
seemed hard to imagine, we kept our eyes on the goal of never letting the killer win. He took Abby and Libby's lives. He took them from their families, their friends, and all the people who should have been able to experience knowing them. He changed the futures of so many people's lives. But he didn't get to take their voices. We get to continue being those for them every day. He didn't tear apart our families. He tore apart his own. He didn't take our lives from us. He took away the lives imagined by all those who loved him. And in his attempt to find a way out, the actions of his defense team lead to more loss of life. The monster that had taken over my nightmares for so long was caught. The grainy image and voice that we had focused all our efforts to find was finally identified. He didn't win and holds no power over Abby and Libby or their families. At trial, Richard Allen confessions he made were played for the jury and public to hear. In these, he says that he found God in prison. I don't believe him for a second, but if this is true, I hope that he takes whatever sentence he is given and lets our family find peace and learn to live in this new normal we have found ourselves in. He can eat Post-it notes and act as if he has gone insane as much as he wants. That will not change what he did to the girls that day. It will not give him an ounce of sympathy from me. I am forever grateful for the men and women who spent years investigating this case and the prosecution team who put their hearts into bringing the case against Richard Allen to trial. Without their never-wavering dedication, we would not be here. And the monster responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby would not be sitting behind bars today. They could have put this case on the back burner, though we never would have let them. But they chose to dedicate hours of their time, turn down promotions that would have advanced their careers, put off retirement, and take time away from their families to bring resolution and justice for Abby and Libby. May Richard Allen spend the rest of his days in prison, suffering slowly through each of them. Kelsey German Siebert.
Yeah, you know what's weird about that? I didn't realize when that AI reads it, it actually puts in the breaths, like, like that. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, wasn't that awesome? The way she wrote that, pretty amazing. So let me ask you guys something. Is the low support the last couple nights, is it because of the holidays coming up, or is it just the overall not wanting to support the channel during this time of year? I mean, I don't know what it is. It just seems like the last 2 days has been really kind of a shocker almost. But if it's the holidays, then I get it, you know. Other than that, it seems like I'm trying to do the same shows that I always do. Let's see. So I'm going to go do the... let's just listen to Doug Carter here, in case you happened to miss this earlier. We listened to Doug Carter. You know, it's amazing when you listen to Doug Carter, because he did the thing where he did the... he said, we've probably even talked to you. Yeah, it's the holidays. Okay. I don't know. Just kind of just stopped one day out of nowhere.
I had prepared remarks today, but I decided walking in here that I wasn't going to read them. John Perrine reminded me that 2,866 days ago, this entire thing began. I didn't know what I would think, and I didn't realize today we were going to be walking into the same room where...
By the way, I wonder if Kathy Shank is taller than Richard Allen. Because she's so little. When she came in, I was like, what? I didn't even know. I thought that was a kid or somebody. She's like behind here, and she's only about up to like there. But they give her a lot of praise. And really, the case was solved because of Kathy Shank and Richard Allen himself. You know, if Richard Allen had never called the tip line, there never would have been an arrest made in this case, in my opinion. Ever. So if Richard Allen hadn't been paranoid and want to get ahead of the case and call, you know, not call the tip line, he actually went into the police station. If he hadn't done that, I don't think there ever would have been an arrest in this case. Because they would have had to have some other crime to compare the ejected bullet to and then have him say, yeah, I was there, you know, that kind of thing. The only reason he was saying he was there originally was because he was trying to get ahead of it. They thought they had him dead to rights. This is the truth, everybody. Richard Allen believed on the 16th of February 2017 that law enforcement had him dead to rights, and they have an image of him. 3 girls saw him when he came in. Betsy Blair saw him. He thought that they had him dead to rights, so he thought, oh shit, let me see what they got. He goes in there, and then he was shocked. For 5 years he sat there and not a soul ever came back and asked him a question. Why didn't he ever come forward again? When they said, we want to know who the driver of the vehicle that was parked at the abandoned CPS building was. Well, he's that car. He didn't come forward again. And I guarantee you what I just told you is the reality of it. That's why he came forward. And so I guess what you could say is, I mean, Libby is so important in terms of her filming that it's just almost unbelievable, right? The video was used at trial, but it's also the reason that he came forward. I think the 3 girls, he was probably a little nervous, but he had his mask on, walking a little. But once he saw his own picture up there, he thought somebody was going to say something. He thought somebody was going to point directly to him. And so he comes forward and wanted to see what they got. And nobody came and spoke to him again. And it was just pure luck that Kathy Shank then, years later, just kind of stumbled upon this thing, and knowing the case said, wow, I didn't see that there was this guy out there that actually ran into the same 3 girls that said they saw the guy. And so she knew how important it was, and that's what led to it. But so here's the thing. I mean, if Libby had not taken that video, I think that is the key to the entire case, because he wouldn't have came forward because if that video didn't exist, and there never would have been resolution. Her taking the video forced him to come forward because he thought he was toast. All right. Hey, thanks Michelle H. for gifting a membership to Fair Night.
Many of you were, I believe, again, from memory, April of 2019 or that time frame.
Why Libby? Why Abby?
Over the course of these last many years now, several of us, me included, have been mocked and ostracized
I'm not
for
sure
our
what
emotion,
the camera was doing there, but
for our inability to answer questions that you might ask, and the thought that we're something other than human beings. I'm not going to apologize for that. I often say I wish people could see what goes on behind the scenes, and not just with people dressed like me, but citizens of this county and of this city. It's amazing, amazing acts of unbelievable courage and self-service and self-sacrifice. I wish you all could have been in the courtroom today and heard the victim impact statements. I'll always remember them. And I hope you'll get the transcripts and
We got them
and read
all.
what was said and try and understand the context of those words, even though you weren't in the courtroom.
I like to hear McClellan.
Over the course of these last many years, there have been many investigative strategies. Any notion of a cover-up, any notion of us deciding the outcome of this, any notion of any connection to anything else is not correct. It's not correct. I've never been a detective in my entire lifetime, and I get to represent some of the best on the planet Earth. And I listened to them intently. And when they made strategy decisions associated with what the next steps would be, my job was to support them, and I stand by those decisions, every single one of them. The gag order. We lived by that. We lived by that gag order. The defense did not.
Well, I mean, the Flora fire is just a case that didn't have elements that they could solve it. They believe that the fire was started intentionally, and but you know, I'm not sure how you solve that one. And and it's funny how a lot of the Delphi people out there sort of use that case. I actually don't think that I think there's very few people that are really that committed to the Flora fire case. And it should have a lot of like people on it and cause pressure for people to do stuff. But I think a lot of the people in the Delphi community sort of pretend that that's one of their big things, you know. They're not really focused in on it. They're really focused in on Delphi, right? And that's what I'm focusing on. I covered the Flora fire once years ago, and it has the same group of wackos that follow that one. So it's just one of those things where you just pick the one that you want to do. That case is filled with just crazy nut job people following it on the side. If you ever have a different theory than theirs, oh my God, the whole world is coming to an end.
And it cost a human life. Anybody that shares those photographs of those two little girls should be held accountable. Whether they're in the public sphere, whether they're emailed to you, whether you found them in a place you didn't want them to see. I hope that if you ever see them, you'll picture your own children as Abby and Libby. I'll never forgive that. I will never, ever forgive that. We lived by the gag order. Documents were released from the defense that drove a public narrative that many of you talked about. And damn it, I wish I could have responded. But I was not going to violate what Judge Gall said. So they were able to get these documents out there and create a public narrative that you and many of you and many others believed around the globe. Baldwin and Rossi are responsible for that, not this team.
See that? That's pretty crazy, right? And he went right after them.
The family effects, I think you'll see the words that were spoken by the folks that spoke today about their lives and how they've been forever changed.
I mean, so they were talking about, like, you know, again, I mentioned that earlier when Lauren was on here, that Fortson took his life because of the leak of the crime scene photos. I mean, he was part of the, so like Westerman gave it to him, and then he gave it to a guy named Mark Cohen, and then that person put him out online. Then an investigation occurred. It went from Mark Cohen to Robert Fortson to Mitch Westerman, and then he had to bite the bullet to keep it from going all the way directly to Baldwin's office. But we know that what he said was completely bogus because he already had those photographs and he wouldn't have needed to photograph the same images that he already had. I wish people would just realize that a little bit more.
Changed, how they'll never be the same, and they said it in ways that were beautiful in some kind of a mysterious way. There's an attorney in Indianapolis by the name of Guy Relford. And I heard Guy on the radio after the verdict, when a lot of hate mail came, death threats came. And I heard Guy Relford say that day on the radio, and I called him 15 minutes after he said it. And after 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective. But he said the only people that mattered in that courtroom was the jury. And he went on to talk about, he's a very bright attorney. He went on to talk about what they can see that we can't, that you couldn't. They could see the defense. They could see the state. They could see the witnesses, feel the emotion, and they could see Richard Allen. I've never thought about that perspective because we have a singular view most times. You, me, it's human nature. Judge Gall was the keeper of the peace in that courtroom, but the people that mattered were those 12 jurors. And we have a system of justice that allows them to decide the fate of a human being. That's what our founders had established. And that's what they did. I hope you all understand that what you say and how you report matters more than you can ever possibly comprehend. This is an opportunity for us to all learn about what social media is and isn't, what we should do and what we shouldn't, and understand that their words have consequences to other human beings. I appreciated Guy's perspective, and it changed my view of the criminal proceeding. Richard Allen knew. We live in a country where people can hate. People can say things about other people. And that's okay. Hate me. It's okay. It's one of the only countries in the world where you can. So hate me if you want to.
I guess that's kind of where I always think all the time.
The investigative collaborations.
You know, like I'll just say things on my show. I mean, I guess a smart person, you know, sometimes I don't think I'm that, you know, I'm kind of dumb in terms of giving a shit about people watching the channel. Like I guess if I was more inviting and welcoming to every single type of thought and belief system, I think I'd probably do a lot better. I'd probably get a lot more people watching. But I'd be ashamed to have people watching, for example, that are Luigi Mangione fans, you know. So when I say, hey, if you think that Luigi Mangione is a hero, then you are a sick person and you're just like him. I actually believe that. Okay? So if that makes it so you don't want to watch my show, well, thank you for being honest. I don't want you anywhere near here. Okay? He's a cold-blooded psychopathic killer. All right? So I guess that's one of the things. It's hard for me to be welcoming to people that have thoughts that I think are just disgusting. All right? You know? So when somebody comes in and I believe in this philosophy. Everyone has the right. I believe in the right for everybody to have an opinion. Doesn't everybody agree with that? That everybody has the right to have an opinion. But what I hate when people say is, you have to respect their opinion. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. I don't have to respect any opinion at all. I have to respect their right to present an opinion. But I don't have to respect their opinion at all. And I don't often, because I think sometimes the opinions out there are so freaking ludicrous and wild and ridiculous that I'm just not going to respect it. And I'll have a comment back like, God, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. What do you think about? Think through things before you say something, right? Like if you look at the facts of the case that have been presented, then use that to come up with a theory that's reasonable. That's the stuff that I care about and makes sense. If you just want to come in and start blabbing wild crap out, it's not going to work out. And I know that's not fun for you. And, you know, my thing in the true crime world is I'm actually trying to figure something out. You know, we're trying to make a difference here. That's why my channel donates so much money as well. I don't know if you guys have seen the numbers over here lately, but let's see right here. Look, you can't see it off the side, but it's 225,000. I sold myself short earlier. 225,500. I think that means, what is that? I guess we're not at a $250,000 would be 250, right? So we're at $225,500, and we've given 57,000 last year, 62 the year before that, 42 the year before that. We're already at 46,000 with this final month to go here. So we try to make a difference here by putting out the factual information in a case. We try to fill the box with facts, then think outside of that box once it's filled with facts. Okay? If you start thinking outside of a box before you have any facts in it, then your theories are completely irrelevant and irrational. Okay? They don't mean anything. If you use the facts, then you'll probably come up with something that is really very close to what happened. All right. And so on this channel, we also have a scholarship fund where we've put $6,000 into it 2 years in a row now, you guys. We did 6,000 last year and we did 6,000 this year. And with that money, we've given to, last year we did two $3,000 scholarships to students in the criminal justice world. And this year we're doing 6,000 but giving 2,000 to 3 people. And this year they're doing video submissions. Have you seen any of those, Plato? Have you seen some of them? Some of them are okay. Some of them are just like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm almost glad we're doing the video because anybody can come up with an AI transcript. You know, like, oh, look at me, everybody. Right? So, hey, thanks, Nikki Zubs, the people who love you because you're authentic. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I do feel like I am genuine and authentic. I, wear my heart on my sleeve. I say what I think all the time. And if you want somebody to make up stuff, pretend every idea is great, this probably isn't the place. I don't mind everybody having an idea because sometimes those are the ones I look at and I'll pick the one out. I'll go, oh my God, that actually makes sense. Like, for example, in the Delphi case, a lot of you don't really realize this, but the flow of the crime was not known for about 5 days, 6 days. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. And there was this one lady who amazingly turned out to be, she pointed out that the forked tree was on the southeast side of the bridge. She didn't know that it was the southeast side of the bridge, but I could tell it was based on the image and the foliage and stuff like that. And even when I tried to explain it to her, she goes, no, I think it's on the other side. I go, okay. She was actually the head of the largest Delphi group on Facebook, and I'd argue back and forth, and she eventually blocked me. But what I came up with turned out to be exactly what they still use today, that they crossed, all the way across from the northwest side to the southeast side, were forced down the hill. I even had the theory that they went back into that corner and he was going to assault them there, but one of the girls ran for it. But it turns out that they didn't run for it, that he just got spooked by a van and forced them across. So I was so close to all of that. But that was, at the very beginning of the case, that's how it was very complicated. But that one person mentioned the forked tree and I was able to go, oh, boom, and put it into place, even though the same person had no idea what they were looking at. The same thing happened with the Kylie Rodney case. There were people that were showing this fire camera at night at exactly the time that Kylie Rodney's vehicle went into the water, and they were looking at all these white lights moving around on the screen. And they didn't know what the hell to make of it. So I was like, oh my God. And I looked up to see where I found out where it was. I found it. And then I instinctually just knew that if you went back earlier in the day and got a still frame from the daylight time and put it underneath the nighttime video and then lighten the nighttime where you could still see the lights, that you could see the lights moving around, and there you go. You see this one light go off on the peninsula and goes into the water and it dims slowly and disappears. It was amazing. All right. And so I knew what to do with it. There's so many people out there that have no clue what they're doing. They just go, ooh, look at this, look at. And they want to, it's just bells and whistles, everybody, and everybody starts clapping, and they all want to watch. They just don't know what the hell they're looking at. All right? And that's the reality, but you guys can do whatever the hell you want. All right, so anyways, let's get back to this. Gray, that's why I don't like you.
Something that I'll
All right,
remember
see you
for the
later.
rest
Don't
of
let
my
the
life.
door hit in the ass on the way out.
For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it. I'll crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar. Jerry Holman gave the last 8 years of his
It
life.
sucks to even have to say that, right? I mean, why should he have to say that? Yeah, Jerry Holman is a very, I mean, I actually texted him after the thing and I said, hey, you know, all he said was, yep, thank you. You know, he doesn't ever have these long-winded replies to me. The one time he had a lot was when I was in that documentary a long time ago. During the, well, it wasn't a long time ago. It was 2 years ago well, let's see. I think it's really actually only about a year and a half ago when I was in Delphi in September of 2023. Not even, God, really only like a year and a quarter. Here, I'll tell you. It's probably up here. I mean, his responses, you know what his responses over the time has been? I'll tell you. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Me too. I mean, just really, like, I write these long things. Yeah, how come that thing you know what was weird is how come that thing about the basketball court never got brought up in court where he was like hanging upside down? I just wanted to see. I can't remember how long ago that was. Oh yeah, so when I was on there, on the documentary when it was playing, he says, I haven't seen anything from you yet. And I said, well, I'm apparently in the last two segments, they didn't let me wear my hat or glasses. And he says, it was like 2 seconds. Oh, you're on now. Slam dunk, he said. Thank you, you did a great. Us against the world, it seems. Yep, there you go. So that was pretty cool, right? He said that I did a slam dunk on the when I was in that documentary because I was the only one. If you go back to that documentary that was on CW, I'm the only one on there that actually got the case right and rationally went through it on there. Okay, do you guys remember that? It was like filled with everybody else was on a different page. It's crazy.
To something much greater than himself.
Yeah, don't you remember that Richard Allen thing where he tried to like take his life on a basketball hoop or something like that?
We fussed with each other throughout the course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had booths at CrimeCon twice now. I think the one in Denver's might be one that I go to though. It's not really that great for channel promotion. I've been there. It doesn't really help that much.
Course of this in conclusion. We argued with each other. I remember Tobe and I had an argument right here in this other room in April of 19, as you should expect us to. There was no groupthink. We debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then the defense spins that into incompetence. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous nonsense for Baldwin and Razi to have done that. And finally, most importantly, to the Delphi community and to the family of Abby and Libby.
I just explained it, Nikki Zibs.
Words cannot possibly explain what we all feel. But what Nick McClellan did and the rest of the team that was associated with this, every single time it was about something other than themselves. It was about this community and that family. We owe them.
I don't know if it was a true story or not, but it was something that was out there. Even like Holman and those guys heard of it. Apparently, like he was hanging upside down from a basketball court outside. You know, he climbed up on it. There was some weird. We talked about it on the show back then.
Attitude that can never possibly be repaid. How about we start to heal now? How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served, and if you don't like justice in this country, go do another one. Let's heal. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and all the nonsense and all the conspiracy theories, and understand that we all tried the best we could. That should be the message to us and to our kids. And to this.
And you know what? They did a great job, other than the one tip didn't make it to somebody. Other than that, they got the tip in there, right? So they actually got the tip in. It should have been something that was immediately brought to somebody important. And it's kind of, you know, it sucks that Dan Doolin over the years didn't think, man, that was crazy. That one guy said he was actually there. And so I think that's actually more communication. I think all the people that are out investigating should know a lot of the sort of, you know, details that aren't like only the killer would know type of stuff, but all of the details, like, hey, you know, here's the image of the guy. Look, it sounds like, you know, there was 3 girls that saw a guy there. You know, give them enough information so when they're out in the field, they can make decisions and think, oh, wow, that kind of matches this.
Most amazing place we call the United States of America. Well done. Thank you all.
Good morning.
Well, you guys were 5 short of 40% of the goal. Is there any chance of at least getting to 40%?
Can we all just have a little bit of a sigh of relief that this thing is over finally? The convictions come in. We've got the verdict. We got the sentence, 130 years in the Department of Corrections. And while I don't think ever this verdict or this conviction will ever bring peace to the family, I hope that they can take this sigh of relief with me to say that this part of the trial is over, that we got the conviction, that we got the sentence that brings justice for Abby and Libby. A few of the things I am going to say are going to echo what Sheriff Liggett said, what Superintendent Carter said, and what Mike Patty said. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank some people along the way. Law enforcement, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, Indiana State Police, Department of Natural Resources, all the agencies.
Hey, thanks so much, Cynthia, on PayPal there. Very kind. She said, thank you for your true support for the families through all these years and the detailed coverage from day one that never wavered. Finally, justice for Abby and Libby and their families. Well, thank you. Very kind. Yeah, it's just, you know, the thing is, another thing too is, I think our channel's given, gosh, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 over the years to the ballpark, you know. And yeah, my channel makes an income, but I try to make a difference out there. That's why we, you know, make a difference regardless of the case information. You know what I mean? Like doing the scholarship fund and our DNA fund. I mean, that's crazy, right? We've put over $90,000, probably like 95 now, into a DNA fund to identify Jane and John Does. And it's worked. And we've done it with using identifinders. So that's very cool. Hey, look at that Paulette up there on the coffee. Thanks, Tim Harris. And also, let's see, we also had a coffee from Linda Howell, as in Linda Molden Howe, of the Cattle Mutilations and Crop Circles.
That assisted in this investigation and the prosecution of the defendant, I want to thank. They were attacked by members on the internet for their integrity. They were called corrupt.
Thanks, Tim Harris.
They were called evil. And they were called liars. And they weathered that storm with professionalism. and did what they could to be a shield for the families. Spent countless hours chasing down leaks of crime scene photos, countless hours attempting to scrub the internet of those crime scene photos, and countless
All right, I got it. We're just trying to figure out, like, we have to give our dogs medicine for their, we don't know which one's having the stomach problems. But look at that. Emily Ragusa said, my hubs and I yell, but Gray, but Gray, in your tone almost every day. Do you say but Gray, or do you call each other yourselves? Like, but Emily, God. Even though you're making a point about challenging perspectives when you do it. It makes us smile as it's uniquely you. We love your channel. Hey, very cool. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, there's a uplifting comment, man. Usually I get the crappy comments by the trolls that come in here, but there you go. Yeah, I'm usually saying but Gray. I'm imitating the people who, you know, these people have these perspectives that are, you know, I guess you're saying the challenging perspective, but they're always just so less likely, you know? Like when you're talking about Richard Allen's bullet, and you go, yeah, Richard Allen's bullet was found at the crime scene because it matched his gun, but Gray, and then they go on to some other thing that's not as likely. So what I like to do is when we're discussing cases, if somebody comes up with something that's more likely than what I was saying, that's the one I want to use. Okay? I've even switched in the midstream. Like if somebody goes, I go, oh shit, that makes more sense. I'll go with that. But when we're doing that, what's the point of bringing up something that's way less likely, just for the hope that you get it right and you can start your own psychic network or something? Is that what you're doing when you do that? See, I told you it was next to a stream and a tree. You know those people out there, those psychics, right? Look at I see a tree. I see a mountain and some water somewhere. Oh my God, that describes almost everywhere. Unbelievable.
countless hours trying to protect the family as best as it could. And so to them, ISP, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, DNR,
hey, thanks,
the other
Jessica.
agencies that assisted, thank you. We would not be here today if it were not for your efforts and your countless hours that you sacrificed away from your family and your friends to give us the evidence that we needed to get the conviction. I want to thank my team, Stacy Diener, James Luttrell.
I thought it was
There is
Luttrell.
no way I could have tried this case without them.
Hey, it looks like Gracie. Is that a
We
Maltese you got there?
spent countless hours working on this case, away from our families, away from our friends, and no one will understand the heart and the effort that they poured into this. So thank you. I want to thank Kathy Shank. She kept us well fed.
That's her back
She
there.
was the grandmother of our office, if you will.
Right there.
She made sure that whatever we needed, she took care of. And she never complained. And without her, we would not be here. Without her countless hours of going over filings, of scanning in documents, of looking at reports,
True.
and having the wherewithal to bring this to the attention of Sheriff Liggett. To say, hey, I haven't seen this before. Has anybody followed up with this person? Without her, we would not be here. Without her, we would not have an arrest, a conviction, and a sentence. She was the key part to this investigation. The needle in the haystack, if you will, that brought this investigation to a close to where we could make an arrest. Kathy Shank, I thank you. And finally, the family. the Williams, the Germans, the Patties. Thank all you guys. The support you gave me throughout this, those times when I said you had to abide by the gag order, that you wanted to respond to the things that were being put out there, the allegations against you, against your family members, that you respected me to the point where you were willing to agree to abide by that gag order for the betterment of the case. The fact that you supported me throughout it, and I know there may be times you doubted, but you endured. And without your help, we wouldn't have got the conviction. And without your victim impact statements and the graceful words that you gave to the court about how this has influenced your lives,
Type of 1 in
we wouldn't have got the
Georgina.
sentence that
Type
we
of
got.
1 in Georgina.
130 years. Maximum sentence on each count. And so I thank you. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Abby and Libby.
That was like 7 seconds, Georgina. You're not a minute behind. Okay? Proved you wrong.
Themselves. Libby for recording the defendant as he walked across the bridge, having the wherewithal to pull out her phone and record that individual, having the wherewithal to know that something wasn't right. Arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, that recording of their killer.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, the recording of the killer is what led Richard Allen to coming forward, and also was used at trial for multiple other things, including the clothing he was wearing, the voice that sounds like him. The video turns out to be huge, absolutely huge. That video, without the video, there is no solving of this case because he wasn't coming forward. That's just the truth. He would never have come forward. He came forward only because he saw his picture in the papers. Does everybody agree with that? I don't know if you do or not, but that's what I believe. I can't prove that, but I think the timing speaks for itself, that on the 14th the bodies were found. The 15th the image was put in the paper with a sentence saying, "We'd like to speak to this person to see what they may have seen." Then the next day he obliged them and got a hold of them because he saw his picture and he was freaking out, thinking, "Oh man, I'm toast. I better come forward and see what they've got." So he comes forward and tells them he was out there, and he was shocked that he lived his life for the next 5 years because nobody came forward to follow up. He could not believe it. However, the guilt of killing Abby and Libby ate him away. I don't think he's a serial killer-like person. I think he wanted to do this, but I think it ate him away, and that's why he looked the way he did in 2017. Stocky, didn't look like a normal dude, and then he withered away into a person that resembled Gollum from Lord of the Rings by the time those 5 years were up. All right? And I think that's because it ate away at his soul. And that's why he was really eager to get into prison and maybe find God and somebody, something to redeem himself with. And he tried to confess. He just wanted to make sure his family still loved him, regardless of the fact that he killed. But they wouldn't give him that answer for a long time. They kept saying, "Well, we don't think you did it, but I love you." Well, he's like, "No, that's not." And then eventually he said, "Well, that's not what I want. I want to know will you still love me regardless of killing?" And his mom finally said, "Yeah, I'd love you regardless." There you go.
Then to Abby for hiding the phone. Hiding the phone from the killer so that he couldn't take it with him. Hiding the phone so that law enforcement could find it and get that piece of evidence that Libby had collected. Without the efforts from those two little girls, we wouldn't be here today. So Abby and Libby, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to say we're very happy with the jury's verdict. We're elated with the judge's ruling, or not the judge's ruling, the judge's sentence. The sentence is appropriate. As Judge Gall stated in court, the aggravators outweighed the mitigators.
Georgina see that Georgina's image right there, you guys? Look at it. Here, let me get that one. Where is Georgina? Oh, is it this one? Oh, it doesn't show up on there. Shit. Anyways, Georgina's little image she has on her chat, that's actually the stain that's on Richard Allen's shirt, but it looks like Elvis Presley, if you were just, "That's not cool, Gray. I'm leaving. How dare you compare a stain to My buddy Elvis. Okay, it was a joke. Thank you.
And the heinous nature of this crime
Hey, thanks,
deserve
Whaley.
a fully
Whaley,
executed
awesome.
sentence.
You're Whaley awesome.
I'll end with this. I want to thank the media for keeping this case in the forefront,
I don't even know what that one is,
for
Jessica.
keeping the tips coming in for us to investigate. But I will leave you this word of caution. Please, as Superintendent Carter said, the crime scene photos are still out there. And more may be out there in the future.
See that? And more may be out there in the future. That's what they're talking about, is those autopsy photos. And I was actually told this by our buddy Fig. Okay, I'm going to give him credit out there. Those were released, and another investigation is being done.
Please, if you receive those, delete those. Don't forward those on. Don't re-victimize the family and the other family members. You can write whatever story you want and report however you want. You do not need those crime scene photos to do so. All it does is re-victimize the families and hurt the reputation of Abby and Libby. So please, if you get those, do not forward those on. If you get any other crime scene photos or autopsy photos or anything, don't forward those on. As Superintendent Carter
See
said,
that?
imagine
Or
if they were
autopsy photos. Notice that?
your grandkids. You can write a story without having those pieces as part of the narrative. So please, do not forward those on. I want to thank the community finally. Everybody in the community locally has supported my office, supported law enforcement. The show of support from them has been just unforgettable. I appreciate everything everyone's done. I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate the handshakes, the support, everything that everybody's done throughout this course of the 8-year investigation. When this investigation started, I was actually a defense attorney. I ran for the prosecutor's office in January 1st of 2018, and I knew coming into that office that this case...
Peter Brady voice? Isn't that the one? And it's time to change and to rearrange. And are you talking about the Sha-na-na-na-na version? When his voice changed? That one? Yeah.
was one that I would have to investigate. And I made it one of my goals not only to investigate it, but to get an arrest, have the trial, and get a conviction. And all the support I had throughout that time, I appreciate it. And so, as Trooper Pierce said, I'm going to answer a few questions. The gag order is lifted. You're more than welcome to talk to anybody up here individually afterwards if they want to talk to you.
I don't know what Georgina Stoliker is. I never even thought of her as being political. I don't know, News Crasher. There's probably a lot of people that hide your comments sometimes. Who knows? Or you're not on live chat. You ever thought of clicking on live chat? Maybe you'll see her right there. Here, I'll show you. Watch this. I don't know if that one. I think this works. See, there's Georgina Stoliker right there. See that with all the little icons on the screen? Can you see that? Right there. All right.
But I will take a few questions here and now.
To help the family navigate the emotions of the swirling...
Hey, Georgina, do you have Cindy J blocked? You can just let me know. She can't see the comment.
narratives outside of the gag order and also the hate and vitriol put onto this case.
It's not...
See, look at the audio. Now you can hear the questions. Let's go back a little bit. Here we go. Right here.
Afterwards, if they want to talk to you. But I will take a few questions here and now.
To help the family navigate the emotions of the swirling narratives outside of the gag order and also the hate and vitriol put onto this case.
It's not easy. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes because I've never had a child die. And so it's very difficult. It took a lot of phone calls, text messages, meetings. A lot of it was, hey, try not to read that stuff that you see on the internet, which is easier said than done. But a lot of it was just moral support and leaning on each other to say, we can't violate the gag order. Let's keep our eye on the ball. We need to get the trial, and we want to try to get the conviction, and then we can talk. And so it was just a lot of words of encouragement between each other. moral support, text message, phone calls, those kind of things. Go ahead.
What happened with Miss OJ at the end of the hearing? What was that fight about?
It wasn't a fight. She was just commenting about some things that were said at sentencing, and I'm just going to keep those things to myself.
Didn't somebody say in chat earlier that it was about that he said things disparagingly towards the defense in his remarks today? Not on this one, but the one earlier at the hearing. So apparently he said some things in there that was disparaging towards the defense, and she came up and said something.
Well, I don't know if she got up in my face. I'll just keep those things to myself. She was just commenting on things that were said at the sentencing. Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
The defense has made it clear they plan to appeal. Your thoughts on their chances?
Well, it's not up to the defense. It's up to the defendant. I'm not going to repeat his name. He's the defendant at this point. And so he has 30 days to file notice with the court that he wants to appeal. If he doesn't file that notice, then there is no appeal.
Where Georgina said she does have a lot of people blocked. So, hey, I'm okay with people blocking other people. You know, I wish I could block more people. But, you know, if you don't like somebody's comments, just block them and, you know, move on and just keep watching. You know, there's a lot of people out there that people don't like them. You know, it's just the way it is. People just say a lot of crazy things. But I can tell you this, Georgina Stoliker has been here a long time, and she's awesome. And I've talked to her on the phone a couple times, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, and she's got interesting life stories. Maybe one day she'll call in and tell us those stories. They're pretty interesting.
And so once he files that notice, we'll deal with it accordingly. We'll work with the Attorney General's office to represent the state, and we'll give them whatever support that they need in order to draft a response to that appeal.
But I guess given all the questions, and you've all addressed it up here and how frustrating it was, your confidence in the security of this verdict and in this maximum sentence?
I feel confident in the verdict and the sentence. But again, I'm not on the Court of Appeals, so they'll have to make that decision if it comes to them.
Sorry, 2023, and one of the very first pretrial hearings, you addressed the court as there's possibly some other actors involved. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I don't know why that was Frank Meister, but he put like McClellan on the defensive right there. Hey, you know, you said that there could have been more people involved.
Well, at this point, we don't.
He should have just said, hey, at the time, we just arrested him. We weren't sure of, like, if there was anybody that gave him information that let him out there, etc. But we haven't found anything.
Don't believe any other actors are involved. We don't have any evidence to support that.
Right.
If evidence comes out in the future to support.
You know, it's amazing. Like, what he says in a minute is exactly what I've said so many times. It's incredible.
Support that, we'll obviously investigate.
Right here.
We're not going to say, hey, no, we got the conviction. We're not listening to what you have to say. But at this point, we have no other evidence showing that any other actors were involved. If Richard Allen himself, the defendant, wants to come forward and give us more information, we'll gladly accept that.
See, I've said that 1,000 times. I've said that, hey, look at Richard Allen. There might be somebody else that was at the crime scene. There's no evidence of it. But Richard Allen, before this trial started, could not have come forward and said, hey, yeah, you know, there was somebody else with me there, because then that's admitting guilt, right? So if there is somebody else there, surely after his appeal runs out, he might use that as something. If he doesn't come forward with anything, then that means there was nobody else involved, and it was just Richard Allen all by himself.
The amended charges were we added the 2 counts of intentional murder. I did that because I thought it was appropriate at the time. Thank you. Yep. Can you tell us more about the hold on just a minute. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Can you
See, that's Greeno in the back, the question coming up.
Tell us, or if you ask you to speak on behalf of other people, how it makes you feel with the guilty verdict and the sentence. Obviously, it's the outcome you guys wanted.
That's Lauren right there.
But how does it make the entire team feel to get to where we are today?
I think
that's her. It sounds like her.
I hate to speak for everybody, but I think, I hate to be cliche and use the word justice, but justice, vindication, to show that the people standing behind me weren't liars, weren't corrupt. those hate mails and hate messages continue to come in from some podcasters, some YouTubers. But I think just justification that, okay, we conducted a clean investigation, we presented the evidence as best we could, and the jury were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty. Yes.
Does this now mean that all the other men are cleared? Can you use that word?
That's Barbara
Who
McDonald.
is all the other men?
The other men that were looked at during the course of the investigation
Doesn't that sound like Barbara McDonald?
that you always said we couldn't say that they're cleared.
Yeah, she would be more articulate than that, though, I think.
Can you now say they're cleared?
I may not use that word cleared, but what I can tell you
She's referring to the Odinists. Did you clear all the Odinists?
is we don't have any other evidence that ties them to the offense at this time.
Are you still looking into the Anthony Shots profile?
Hey, Zozo, just refresh. Come back into the video.
And any other secondary investigation?
What do you mean looking into the Anthony Shots profile?
Well, in 2021, you guys asked for information on the user of that profile. Mr. Klein was in custody at that time, and then it just kind of faded out. And
well, it didn't fade it out. He was.
Why are they letting Greeno and these guys let these faces? I mean, this guy's been a criminal and bad actor in that town for so long. It's interesting. I mean, why? I just don't give him the time of day, man.
Convicted of what, 34, 35 counts?
Is there anybody else connected from that profile to this case?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that question's okay.
Not that we have any.
Is there anybody else connected from that profile to this case? And that's the key thing is, do you guys think that, like, my thing is this, if Richard Allen knew the girls were going to be there, how? When you know that, Richard Allen went to basically Peru, Indiana, the same morning, right where Keegan Kline lives. And we know that Keegan Kline's account was communicating with Abby and Libby that weekend. They just can't find any evidence. All right, Zozo, type in a 1. Well, you're already 20 seconds in, so I don't know. I don't know if you're not doing it when I ask you to or what. What do you mean Benny is so true? What does that even mean?
Information of that right now.
Can you speak to the timing of today's sentence? Christmas is 5 days away. This is an emotional time of year for a
Sure.
lot of things.
Yeah, I just tell you that all the time. I have said the same stuff over and over and over again. The Keegan Kline connection, that it's hard to drop because of it. He had his head down when he got there. He bolts over there. He got there. He got to the bridge, the Monon High Bridge, 5 minutes before the girls were dropped off. And they got there probably like at I would say 1:59 or something, because they're walking slowly down there, and they got there like 1:59. So 15 minutes he was there before the girls got to the bridge. At about 1:50, let's see, what did I have? So 46, I'd say about 1:52 or 3. That's when Betsy Blair was at the bridge and saw him standing on platform 1. Then she turns around, and then about 1:56, she passes Abby and Libby. And then Abby and Libby, about 1:59, make it to the bridge. They take that one photograph at 2:04 of the full length of the bridge, and then the other one at 2:07, and then the video's at 2:13 and 50-something seconds. That's when it starts at the end of the bridge.
There's no significance in my mind to the timing. Once a person is convicted, they have a right to be sentenced within 30 days. And so I think the timing just was to try to get it in before the holidays, because a lot of people do have time off and and the courthouses are closed. So there's no significance in my.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my original theory the whole time is, Cindy. But it's hard. You can't just throw out the Anthony Shots communicating with the girls that same weekend, and the fact that he had his head down like he was on a mission, And then it looked like he was waiting for somebody, according to Betsy Blair. You know, you always try to make it sound like it's just so simple. Like you just, yeah. My original theory was that this is a guy that was hunting for a person. He either was from there or from outside of the town, but came there days earlier, scoped out the area. Then he was waiting and hunting and waited for a precise moment in time for, a trap, basically. He sees them go across, then he knows, now he's looking behind him. He'd already seen that nobody had been in front of him because he was standing on the bridge. We now know. He was standing on the bridge, so he saw nobody in front of him. But even if he waited at the bench area, right when you get there, he would have known that nobody went to the bridge the whole time he was there, and nobody came back. And so then when the girls got there, he could have followed them. We didn't know about Betsy Blair at the time. So, you know, some of that stuff changed. Right. But you always sort of discredit the other theory.
My mind to the timing, but that it worked in everyone's schedule.
I just mean that it's the time of year when people are with people they love. These two little girls are not with their families.
The beginning of the show.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but regardless of the time of the year, I imagine it's hard for the family to not be with the victims any day, whether it's somebody's birthday or somebody's anniversary, the other holidays we have out throughout the year. Christmas is probably especially difficult. Again, I don't expect this verdict or the sentence to bring peace to the Patties, the Germans, or the Williams. I don't know what at this point could ever bring peace to a family member that loses a child or a parent that loses a child. What I hope is what I said. I hope it's a sigh of relief.
Yeah, we've gone over all the stuff. He finds a phone. So you got to look at it like this. Just after the murders, a few days later, that's when Keegan Kline and his dad go to Las Vegas. And while in Las Vegas, he met up with some guy that nobody really knows who it is. And then he found a phone in the back of a cab, he says, that he factory reset. But isn't it more likely that he brought that phone with him and then factory reset it after giving some CSAM material, because that's what he dealt in, to other people? Doesn't that make more sense? That that's what he was doing there? To me, it does.
Portion is over, and that the conviction, as it is now, stands, and that he's been sentenced to the maximum possible sentence. I hope that is a sigh of relief.
I know, that's what we said,
them.
Cindy.
And I hope
like,
that
that's one
now,
of
like Superintendent Carter...
One of the counter arguments is that he got 40 years in prison. Surely he would have used that to get 20 years in prison to say, yeah, I'm the one that told Richard Allen to be there. Except that's kind of bad, too, because now there's, like, accessory to murder. So how do you cut a deal? I mean, it's weird because he's already getting 40 years, and then you're going to cut a deal. I don't know. You know what? It's odd though is his 40-year sentence is massive for his crime, even though it's disgusting what he did. I've never seen a sentence that large for a person like what he did. Have you guys? 40 years? That's what you get for murders and stuff. And he's got, so it's always been weird to me, almost like they're waiting for him to break someday. It's very strange, because if he does have information, maybe they would cut a deal and give him 25 years. It's just, wow, 40 years. I was really shocked. I thought for certain that meant something. First, that a deal hadn't been cut and they're leaning on him hard, and when the gravity of 40 years starts hitting him after year 2 or 3, he's probably going to be like, oh shit, yeah, let me make that deal. But it's also very possible that he had no connection at all. It just seems astonishing. The odds are, it's just incredible that Abby and Libby are talking to the Anthony Schatz profile, a catfishing account, on the same weekend, before the Monday. And then after the fact, that person said that they were supposed to meet them there that day, and that the only reason that the catfishing account didn't get to meet up with Abby and Libby is because some other unknown, unaffiliated, random killer was out there and killed them first. I mean, what an incredibly crappy weekend that was. I mean, you've got two people, unbeknownst to each other. Okay, you guys, that's why it's hard to believe that. Although I was told a long time ago by one of the investigators that they were unable to find a connection between Anthony Schatz and Anthony Schatz and Richard Allen. They couldn't find it. Now, does that mean it doesn't exist? No, because what if it was analog? Let's say that morning, Keegan Klein, he's over at his residence, and Richard Allen, who was at his mom's house, it's like 2 miles away from Keegan Klein's house. Maybe he stops by there, and Keegan says, hey, because they both peddled in the same stuff, I would believe. Because I think he was interested in that kind of stuff. So let's say somehow he knew about the Dropbox or whatever. He knew where Keegan Klein lived. So he goes over there, and I'm not sure if that's something that they would allow people to know your real name or whatever. But he stops by, and he just is told, hey, there's these two girls. I think they're your type, man. They're going to be out there they're going to be there. And so he goes, oh my God, and he bolts home. He gets there, he gets his 6 beers, drinks 3 of them really quick, grabs his jacket because he knows he's going to be there. They're going to be there, parks his car, gets on the trail. He's walking really fast because he wants to get to the bridge because they know that the girls are going to go to the bridge. And, that's what seems like a possibility. And there's no way to prove something like that. Although, again, if it's true, then Keegan Klein could have cut himself a big deal on that. However, then you're looking at an accessory to murder. Yeah.
Can continue to heal and start to put this chapter behind them. That's why the plea to the media, please do not recirculate those pictures, because all that does, as Mr. Erskine said in his victim impact statement, it's like a scab or a wound that scabs over that is constantly ripped open. It's a constant reminder that our loved ones are put in this vulnerable position.
Should people face criminal charges or any kind of charges if they do publish or share those pictures?
My opinion is if the Indiana Code allows criminal charges to be pressed for those kind of thing, if something comes to my office, criminal charges will be pursued if the criminal code allows it.
Superintendent Carter, can you speak to the...
Well, he can ask some questions after we're done here. So,
would you concede that there are some holes in this case or things that cannot be explained that you guys were not able to explain?
I'm not going to concede that. No, go ahead.
Because there's no holes, you guys. Can anybody point out a hole in the case? Anything that was like, oh my God, whoa, what is it? Anybody?
The judge spoke today to the defendant's conduct, specifically him rolling his eyes throughout
Sure.
the trial. Your take from your professional perspective, you've tried other cases. I'm sure you've watched him throughout the case. What was your reaction to how he was acting?
It's hard for me to see him because the way we were seated, especially during the trial, we were kind of all crammed. We call it the well. We're kind of all crammed in there, so it's kind of hard for me to focus on him. And the way I try cases is I'm pretty focused on what I'm doing, and I try not to get sucked into the reactions of other people. I like to watch what the jury's reactions to certain things are. And so a lot of the stuff that she commented on, I didn't see from him. What I did notice from him is what I said in my sentencing recommendation, just the lack of remorse and the lack of regret, the lack of emotion, I guess, when the images of the victims are put up on the screen. As a father, when I see those things, and you've probably seen me up here and other places, I get a little emotional about it, and it's hard not to. And so the lack of those things kind of struck me. I didn't see him rolling the eyes of the judge, of course, but obviously never a good thing to do. So those are my comments on that.
What do you think? What piece of evidence, really quick?
Just one more. That'll be good. Yeah, sorry.
What piece of evidence, like from his demeanor to any parts of your case, what piece of evidence?
Maybe Kathy Shank should get the reward
the jury,
money.
and then to also elicit this maximum sentence. What do you think got us here?
Oh gosh, I don't know what did it for the jury. I think it was a culmination of everything that we had. I think once you start stacking that evidence against him, and as it stacks up, it's hard to say that the defendant isn't bridge guy. And if you can accept that he's bridge guy, you can accept that he's the killer. And that to me is the bottom.
You guys.
And so
what he just said right there, how many times have I said almost verbatim That exact sentence. I mean, literally, you guys. Like this whole thing right here.
Gosh, I don't know what did it for the jury. I think it was a culmination of everything that we had. I think once you start stacking that evidence against him,
Yeah.
as it stacks up, it's hard to say that the defendant isn't Bridge Guy.
Yeah.
And if you
When I saw the one of their documents that said Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, I thought, man, that's exactly what I've been saying for a year and a half. Because that's the key to the case in terms of making your case to the jury. Once you prove that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, everything else falls into place. I know, isn't that weird? It's like exactly the same. I just, and it's just like, maybe I just think like these guys do,
you can accept that he's Bridge Guy, you can accept that he's the killer.
God, I mean, that exact sentence. I said that today before we even heard this. If you go back and watch our earlier live today, I said that exact same thing. And it was before the press conference. I said that, because I went over the timeline again, and I said, once you realize that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, then everything else falls into place. I mean, I think it was almost like that exact sentence.
And that to me is the bottom line. And so
That is it.
If you have a
You
message
nailed
for
it.
Richard Allen, you could talk to him face to face right now after all this has been said and done. What would you say to him?
I think it
I
would
don't
just
know.
echo
I've never heard
what the
from him.
superintendent
Don't know if he
said
even
and
knows who I
what
am.
Sheriff Liggett said and some of the things that were said by the victims' families at court. If he truly wants to
That's right, Kelly.
apologize to the families and admit to what he's done, now's the time to do that. So.
Can you say today? Can you say today that Carroll County is safer than it was 8 years ago?
I know who that is. Who's that guy? He's got the white hair. Forgot his name.
I believe so.
What steps have been taken to make it safer?
Well, I think it's safer in the sense that people can have that sigh of
A lot of YouTubers asking questions here, by the way.
relief to say, okay, we got the guy, we got the conviction. And so I think in that sense, it's safer. I've always thought I was born and raised here in Carroll County. I left, of course, to go to, and so this has always been my hometown. It's been my hometown for 3 generations or 4 generations in my family. And so I've always thought it's a safe place. And the things that Sheriff Liggett said, the thing that the victim said in the sentencing, that wasn't fluff, that we didn't lock our doors and that we knew everybody else. Those are true statements. This is a traditional, small, Midwestern
That's right, Ash.
town. And so I think it's always been safe. I think there can be that pressure off of people now to say, okay, I feel better. We got the guy, we got the conviction, and we know he's going to be in prison for 130 years. So, go ahead.
That'll be it for the questions today and for the press conference. I would just like to say thank you for all for coming out as you go about your.
That's the same guy that introduced the Keegan Kline situation years ago. 2000, was it 2020, perhaps? Yeah. Yeah, so that one document that Zozo's talking about, it's like 200 pages. I don't really want to go through it, but in there they tried to get Keegan Kline to say that his father was connected somehow. That's what they kept trying to get him to say over and over again. And apparently law enforcement was interested in him at one point because the writing was different in some of the text. There was also an Emily Ann account that was a female that was used by them as well to get girls to send pictures, how it's safe to send pictures to another girl, and then also to kind of groom them into being, sort of accepting of a older guy, Like, hey, what's the oldest one you've ever been with? Oh, yeah, I've been, it was crazy what was going on there. So it sounded like there might have been a connection somehow, but they weren't able to ever make the connection. I mean, I don't know. What about this, you guys? What if, this is just a what if. What if Richard Allen went over to Keegan Kline's residence and he used his, he would communicate with the girls using Keegan Kline's stuff. That was him. What if he was the other person? What if Richard Allen was Emily Ann? There'd be no way to prove that it wasn't him because he's using the account at that house. You remember how law enforcement were asking, so who else would have been able to use that? Yeah, and then eventually, yeah, my dad could have used it, but what if it was actually him? But then again, why isn't he using that? But that's sort of an interesting, yeah, right, Therese. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about, because there'd be no proof of him being the guy because he used Keegan Klein's devices. Wouldn't that be crazy? So let's see, after all this is done, after the appeals and everything like that, will Keegan Klein come forward? I mean, it'd be the most absolutely bombshell shit you've ever heard in your life if he came forward and said, hey, yes, I actually, as long as we can cut a deal here, you know, give me 15 years, I'll tell you the truth here. I mean, but why would they when he's already in there? I guess you'd have to do it before the appeal. Once there's an appeal, and depending on if it was accepted or not, then he'd come forward, and then that would help get him the second time around. But I don't know, that would be so crazy. It wouldn't make really much sense, though. It seems like he'd have to come forward with this information. Basically, if there's an appeal and somehow it's granted. God, that's just so weird. Oh yeah, maybe someday. It's just so long. But I gotta get out of here. It's been 3 hours. We got to 50% on the channel. 55 maybe. Maybe 60, we'll say. So maybe if there's a last minute push, you guys, if you want to help support the channel, that'd be great. You know, trying to keep things going. And I was also thinking maybe if there's, you know, I don't know if anybody knows anybody out there that might be struggling a little bit during here. Maybe we can, you know, not do the 501c thing and maybe help a couple people out. I don't know if there's people out there that know anybody, but you know, I don't like when people write me about themselves, because then I'm not really trusting it. If you know somebody else though that you communicate with that watches the show and maybe struggling a little bit, maybe we can try to do something for them. Maybe that'll take up some of the, or we won't probably get the 50,000, I don't think. This month, I can tell by where we're at currently. We're not, right now we're about 50% of what we were at last month at the same time, but then it slowed down at the end of the month. What do you mean doing mods nights? What does that mean? What's a mod night? What does that even mean? I don't get it. Hello? What does that mean? Man, you got to try to be a little bit more explanatory. I've seen some channels doing mods night. Oh, to the mods? Yeah, no, we give away money to charities, and I'd rather give some money, you know, to, I mean, I don't know. That seems kind of odd, you know. Action taken against the defense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that, mods? I don't know. It seems kind of... Right, Kelly J. I know. But you seem like a troll, though, Kelly. I've seen some of your comments. They're always a little off. You seem like you're trying to just jump in there. I'd rather, I don't know, if there's a mod that needs something, I'd help them out. But the mods are people that I trust, been around a long time, and, you know, they do it because they want to do it. You know, I wasn't thinking, oh, man, we got to do a big... I don't know. I actually hadn't thought of something like that. Right. Well, she doesn't need donations, Therese. Yeah. I was thinking of, somebody out there that's just really struggling. Well, that's what it sounds like, Kelly, yeah. Because nobody asked you, you know what I mean? I've been on a non-profit board for 35 years and never taken a paycheck. I've used to donating my time. Well, there you go, Plato. There you go. Yeah, and I do my shows every night, and I just think it's right to give away a big portion of the income. Fortunately, there's a certain point where I can't give away. Like, if my channel only brought in, let's say it was like $5,000, I don't know if I could bring in, be able to donate money. Because I've actually, 2 months ago, I donated $5,500. Because my ad revenue was so high. So I'm not really sure. Ah, jeez. Yeah. Right, Cindy. Yeah, I mean, I say thanks, not every show, but I do say thanks to the mods a lot. So I'm not really sure what your point was here tonight, Cindy. I wasn't talking about anything related to what you're saying. You just created sort of an uncomfortable situation. Let's see. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thanks to the Whaley Awesome, Paulette, Linda Howell, and Cynthia C. on PayPal. Very kind, very kind. And Sandy Shirley. Then also Linda Howell, Lisa Valenzuela, Toxic Tink, and Danielle Savoy. Yeah, well, maybe send me an email, Cindy. You're always causing havoc and problems that the trolls just all love. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look. You do it every single show. It never fails. Hey, thanks, Whiskey Boots. Appreciate it. Yeah, I just do what I do on here. I try to give away a lot of income. I normally give to 501c because, yes, I can get a tax break for it. Everybody thinks it's like dollar for dollar write-off. They're insane people. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't show up. I mean, it doesn't... I'm not really sure how to explain it. But the people, they always say the same thing. No, I know, Cindy, but you never think through what you're saying. You put people in uncomfortable situations almost on a nightly basis. Yeah, I don't know how to do something like that. Do a show where what? You raise funds for all the mods and then you give... Why, are you on Rewind again, Zozo? I don't know how that really works. Like, you do a fundraiser for the mods, the channel brings in no income to be able to then give away part of it, and then you're giving money to the mods. I don't know if they ever asked to be paid for it, but, I don't know. It's been hard lately to even give away the tumblers and things like that. It's just... Oh, yeah, I got to get back to the No Visor show, right? I'm just saying, Cindy. Everything, a lot of times the stuff that you say always comes back. It happens a lot. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I'll tell you what, if there's a mod that needs something and they're struggling, just let me know. Okay? But other than that, I don't know if the mods are like, hey, yeah, I want to get a bunch of money. I mean, I don't really know how that works. What do you guys think? Now we're stuck on having to talk about that. So what do you guys think about that? If you guys know a mod that needs something, I'd be more than happy to, during the season here, to help give them something. Some money. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you're a mod and you're struggling or something like that, let me know, okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about the mods. I want them to answer the question. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, on the side, if you know somebody or two people or whatever that need help with something, let me know, okay? That's what I suggested earlier. All right, anyways, thanks, Alley Cake, CR, Herbert Landscaping, CR, then Wendy Woobles, then Georgina Stoliker, Michelle H, 17 months, and Martha Bigfoot, and thanks for Michelle H for, it's like a year and a half. Julia Burns, then Alley Cake. Julie Burns said, maybe Richard Allen can come eat. Oh, wait, let me see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Let me just do this the way that you can do it on StreamYard, okay? So here we go. This one said, thanks, Gray, appreciate your hard work. That was from Alley Cake. Then CR was trying to do a wave with Christmas trees. Then Herbert Landscaping, for all your landscaping needs in upstate New York. Then we got CR with a super sticker. Thank you. Then Wendy Woobles with a super sticker. Then Georgina Stoliker with a super sticker. Then we have Michelle H, 17 months. All right, then we have Martian Bigfoot. Became a YouTube member. Martian Bigfoot. Oh, man. Then Julia Burns. Maybe Richard Allen can come eat up that dog poop on your carpet. Well, I don't know if... I didn't see any on there. I guess we could check later. Let me see. Oh, there's some pee right there. I see that, though. You guys see that? They definitely peed on that. Looks like they're dehydrated. It's a little too yellow. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Let me... How do I get that one off the screen? See right underneath there? See that? Yeah. I'm not even sure where I was now. Jeez. I think we were way up here. Yeah, maybe Richard Allen can eat up that dog poop. Okay, then Alley Cake with the waves, and then Michelle H, and then Herbert Landscaping, super sticker. And by the way, if I don't tell you guys enough mods, I really appreciate you guys always being here and, you know, taking care of the crazy people that show up often and, you know, just being supportive and always here. It's like it's the Freak family in here. And Texas Roadrunner. That was Herbert Landscaping again. And then Texas Roadrunner. And then Peggy Day. And she looks like a nice person. Look at that smile. Then CR. All right. Gifted a membership. And Peggy Day, who has been a member for 30 months. That is 2.5 years. Then Tim Harris. I think the case was bulletproof even without the confessions. Also, do you think the family hired a literary expert or poet to help with the victim statements? They were very powerful rhetorically. I don't think so. There might have been somebody that was like you know, hey, what do people normally put in these and that kind of thing. Amazing impact statement from Becky. Yeah, that was good. Then Lily Ray became a new member. Welcome. Then we have Mallory Beavers. Then we have Michelle Wood, super sticker. Then we've got Michelle H. gifted a Gray Hughes Investigates membership. And Cindy Leon had... I'm just kidding. Nikki Zubs. People who love you because you're authentic. And we appreciate it because that's not a common thing anymore. That is pretty uncommon. And then Cindy J. I'm just kidding. Tim Harris, a small thank you for the magnificent work on this case. I actually think your timeline may have won the case. Yeah, it's hard to say, but it feels like sometimes somebody saw something that I made. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's just, you'd hope that you helped out like that, but... Emily Ragusa said, my hubs and I yell, but Gray, in your tone almost every day, even though you're making a point about challenging perspectives. When you do it, it makes us smile as it's uniquely you. We love your channel. Yeah, that's very cool. And then Jessica Skelton said thank you. Then we have Maureen D. Maureen D said thank you for calling out and quieting the defense vloggers who exploited these sweet girls' murders for money. Yeah, those people, they just invented content for months out of nothing. It was unbelievable. Where am I? Up here. How come I can't find it now? Oh yeah, Emily and Jessica. So that was Marine. And then Whiskey Boots was the last one. And said, thank you for all your work, great. Well, thank you, Whiskey Boots. It's cool when I get to see people's faces like that, at least. Anyways, what did you guys think, mods? Seems like there's only mods talking now. I mean, do you think it'd be better if you guys just told me, hey, there's this one mod that needs some help or something, then we can do that? What do you guys think? Cindy J is always like the little, like, I don't know what you call her, just she doesn't realize the stuff that she creates for me on the side. But she's like that little sister always jabbing you in the side, you know. She just doesn't realize it. It's amazing. Yeah, let's see. Have you ever tried to have a depth crime case conversation with someone in your life? Jessica? They just don't enjoy it as much. I know. Like, I'm always sitting there trying to tell all the stuff in order, and then I'm realizing I lost these guys a long time ago. Because, you know, like, you're trying to, like, zip through a timeline really fast, and those people just don't give a damn, you know. Yeah, Koberger is going to be a good one. I think Koberger should be a good one. Unfortunately, like I said before, people like the conspiracy stuff, so my channel will get buried underneath the mountains of conspiracy nut jobs that think Koberger's innocent factually currently. I couldn't be anything further than, well, I mean, I guess technically he's still innocent, but he is the killer. There is no doubt about it at all. It's so obvious. It actually is more obvious than the Richard Allen case, if you can believe that. I don't know, DM. I've seen it. I've seen it. Retired psychologist. I'm dying to talk to him. Well, thanks, Jessica Schubach. But like I said before, I mean, you know, when you guys are struggling, the mods, nobody ever tells me anything like that. I definitely would be help you guys out in the season here, you know. Well, thanks, Linda Howe, and then let's see. I know their faces. I've learned to read the room. Yeah. Yeah, you see this look like their eyes dart. Whenever there's something, the key is this. Let me show you. Whenever you're talking to somebody, and you're talking to them, and they go like this. They go. As soon as their eyes dart in another direction, you lost them 5 seconds, or like 2 minutes before that, they hadn't heard a word you said. Or if they did, they just weren't able to put it all together. So when you're talking to them, you got to be sort of methodical and just kind of explain it, like, you know, make sure that they're following along. It's like that joke that I always tell when I say, hey, everybody, do it to yourself. Pick a number between 1 and 9. All right? Okay, great. And then it was something like, now multiply that number by 9. Okay? Now do it in your head, everybody. Don't type it in. So pick a number between 1 and 9. Now multiply that number that you picked by 9. Now the resulting number that you have, for example, if you have 68, you add the 6 and the 8 together, right? What do you got? So don't write it down. Don't write it down what you got. Don't write anything in there. So keep that in your mind. Now subtract 5 from that number, okay? Okay, great. That's excellent. Now take the corresponding letter of the alphabet. You know, A is 1, B is 2, right? Now give me a country that starts with that letter's name. Okay, you got that? You got that? Now come up with an animal that starts with the last letter in the country's name. Okay, you got that? You got that? Yep, there you go. And just remember, everybody, there's no orange kangaroos in Denmark. All right? Did anybody follow along as I was going and come up with that exact answer? And if you didn't, that just means your math sucks. Okay? Well, that's true, Gray. I really wasn't a... Yeah. Yeah. There you go. My brain is too damn... Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It's just... forget it, you guys. Forget it. Okay? All right. You know, some people say koala, whatever. Well, the show's over, Zozo. But anyways, thank you guys very much for being here tonight. Appreciate the support. Didn't quite reach the goal on the show, but some of the other support helped out. So I think we made it for the day anyways. Yeah, that's too bad. Dirt in my eye. That means you didn't figure it out. I'm going to do it one more time. Well, I can't do it now because the joke's already ruined. So if you got nothing, that means your brain didn't do it correctly. If you take a number between 1 and 9, right? Let's say you pick 7. Now multiply that times 9. What's that? I'll do it with you guys. Let's do it right now. One person in here. How about we'll just go with dirt in my eye. So dirt in my eye, do this. Pick a number between 1 and 9 and just type it in. All right? And quickly answer the questions, okay? So we don't have to sit here all day. Now, you must be 1,000 miles behind. Okay, 6. Now multiply that times 9. What do you get? What do you get? And I guess everybody can do what they want. Like, put in what you got when you multiplied the number times 9. Okay, right. Now, add those two together. Dirt in my eye. You add those two numbers together. What do you get? All right, you add those two together. What do you get? So you add those two numbers together. What do you get, you guys? Type in the answer. No, it's not 60. Dirt in my eye. It's not correct. You're incorrect. How do you get 108? How in the hell are you getting 108? I'm saying add the two numbers together. Like if you say 54, you add the 5 and the 4 together. And I explained it earlier. Good God, you people. All right, so what are you getting? You got the 9. Now subtract 5 from that. How the hell did you get 60 up there? That's unbelievable. Subtract 5 from your number. No, alley cake, it's not 6. Subtract 5. That's right. Now, Whiskey Boots came up with 4, right? Now take the corresponding letter of the alphabet. What do you get, Whiskey Boots, when you come up with the corresponding letter of the alphabet? A is 1, B is 2. What do you got? No, it's not 9 minus 4, Rose. It's not 9 minus 4. You're incorrect. I said 9. It's minus 5, not 4. God, you guys. Unbelievable. No, nobody said it's not dirt in my eye. I said add the two numbers together, the 5 and the 4. Nobody had a 6 in there. Where you got the 6, I have no idea. All right. You got a D, right? All right. Then I say, well, what animal? Normally people, that's not the... Why are you guys typing in animals right now? What country starts with the letter D? Just immediately say it. Don't go, ooh, let me be creative. What letter starts with the letter D? Go ahead. Type it in. So you're already doing the jokes wrong. Plato, Zozo, all of you guys. You're just... Right. And then Therese says Denmark. Everybody says Denmark, right? Now come up with an animal that starts with the last letter in Denmark. Okay? Come up with an animal that starts with the letter K, basically. The last letter in Denmark. What is it? Yeah, Zozo's just trying to be, you know. So anyways, just come up with the last letter. What animal? Kangaroo, right? So then at the very end, you know what you can say to somebody? Without them knowing how you did it, you just tell them, hey, well, just remember, there's no, wait, what was it? I think I'm missing a part. There's no kangaroos in Denmark. However, what was the other part? D, and then you say Denmark. Oh yeah, that's right. And then once they come up with kangaroo, you say what's the last letter in the animal you picked. Come up with a color, and that would be O, right? So you would say orange, and then right. So it's Denmark, kangaroo, and then now come up with a color with the last letters in the animal name, and you would say orange, and then I would say, well, just remember there's no orange kangaroos in Denmark, and you're just absolutely dumbfounded at how in the hell I knew that, because the original math question always ends up with a 4 no matter what. You could pick a 2, you multiply that times 9, it's 18, you add the 1 and the 8, it's 9. You could pick a 3, you multiply that times 9, it's 27, you add the 2 and the 9, the 2 and the 7 together, that's 9 minus 5 is 4. You can say 7. 7 times 9 is 63. 6 plus 3 is 9. Minus 5 is 4. You could say 8. 8 times 9 is 72. 7 plus 2 is 9. Minus the 4 is minus the 5 is 4. That's D. It's always D, right? So you're forcing the D on them with the math. Then you then they almost always say Denmark, almost every time. And as soon as they start overthinking it, if you start going, when you say, okay, pick a country that starts with that name, they start going, you know, that means they're way off already, man. They're already way off. That means they didn't do the math right. You already know it at that point. And but if they get it right and you say, well, they got a D, and then they come up with a country like Dubai, and you say, come up with an animal that starts with that last letter. Because K is simple. Everybody says kangaroo immediately. Almost nobody does koala or Dubai, right? But you come up with a K, and then you go, well, now pick a color, and it's just like, okay, now you got to say, hey, is it an A with a... Most people do what I just told you. Most people come up with D for Denmark, K for kangaroo, O for orange. They don't think of olive. You know, and then immediately you say, well, hey, just remember there's no orange kangaroos in Denmark. And they're just like, whoa, how in the hell did you know that? Right. That's right. There you go. There you go. No orange kangaroos in Denmark. So let's just do it slow for practice for you guys. Pick a number between 1 and 9. Hey, I know. I'll pick 2. Multiply that number times 9. Okay, 18. Cool. Now add those two numbers together. You know, like if it's 27, add the 2 and the 7. Okay, cool. I add the 1 and the 8. That's 9. Okay, cool. Well, not 27. Yeah, like if it's 27, you add the 2 and the 7. I should have said something like, 78. Okay, that's 15, right? So then add in this case, add the 2 and the 7. That's 9, right? I think that's what we were on. I can't remember what number I actually picked. But once they get 9 every single time, it doesn't matter. So you pick a number between 1 and 9, multiply it times 9, add the 2 together, you get 9. Then you subtract 5, and now you got a 4. Then you pick the corresponding letter of the alphabet, which is a D, as in dog, right? Then you have them come up with the letter, a country that starts with that letter, and they almost always say Denmark. You just got to go with the odds on this joke. It's not really a joke, it's a riddle or a magic trick. They'll say Denmark, and then you say, now pick an animal that starts with the last letter in the country's name. They'll almost always say kangaroo immediately. You don't let them have a lot of time. Just immediately, what is it? Boom, they say kangaroo. Then you go, what's a color that starts with the last letter in the animal's name? Then they say orange. And then you look at them and you say, well, just remember, there's no orange kangaroos in Denmark. And they're just going, holy crap. How in the hell did you do that? Try that one tomorrow. But it's so frustrating doing with people because everybody's like, well, wait a minute. If it's taking them too long on the math part, it's not going to work, man. It is not going to work. It isn't going to work at all. If you start going, now pick a number between 1 and 9, and they go, okay, yeah. Multiply that times 9, and they go, yeah, okay. Now add those two numbers together. You know, like if it's 87, add the 8 and the 7. So you might have, 19, you add the 1, And they go, okay, and then they go, okay. And then they go, now subtract 5, and they're going, 1, 2, yeah. And they just keep counting. Oh, God, it's over at that point. Forget it. Joke. You might as well just forget it. I can't tell how many times that's happened. It's so simple, though, if they're just paying attention. Yeah, try it and report back to me, you guys. All right. But again, hey, everybody, thanks, mods, for all you do out there. Appreciate your help all the time, and thanks for, trying to help get the support going on the channel nightly. I know it's not the funnest thing in the world to do. It's not fun for me either. It's just something we do to be able to do all the great stuff that we do and also support my channel at the same time. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here tonight. We will see you tomorrow. All right. So, as I always say, everybody, I hope you guys like the show, by the way, but until next time, be safe out there. And a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Where the hell is it? There it is. I think you can hear the music. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is...
Not even one grade!
Crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. I'm gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pop protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pecker. Use your toes, use your nose, whatever
Just
blows.
remember,
I've a temper fucking check. Hit that like that. I have no agenda. I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody. And I think the Delphi case, by the way, I'll probably, when I can get guests on, like if I can get Becky and Kelsey, maybe even Michael come on with Becky or something like that. I think that'll be, that's something I do, and I might actually interview, have a conversation with Robert Ives. I don't know if he wants to come on camera or anything like that, and we'll see how that goes. But I think it'd be interesting to hear like the first prosecutor's perspective back in the day. So that'd be cool. So that's my, continued sort of like involvement if we're going to do anything at all. But, yeah, I guess, the Delphi case is over, other than those kinds of things, and that's amazing. So hopefully, I hope the appeal, they make an attempt and it fails. And I just want it to be completely over for the family to, go on to the next chapter in their book. I can't even remember the thing that I wrote that one time. It was pretty sweet, though. The hell was that? It was pretty good. It was like a... Oh, wow. It's right here. I found it right here. Look at it. It says, there's no such thing as closure, only the completion of chapters in the infinite book of tragedy. There you go. Boom. That's it. And that's exactly the reality. There's no such thing as closure, only the completion of chapters, as if there's this book, but it's an infinite book of tragedy. So it never really goes away, but you keep moving into different chapters in that book. There you go. Awesome. Anyways, thanks everybody. See you guys later. And be safe out there.